We started with 24, now only 9 remain. And Bleed has certainly made a splash, but is this where Bleed's Cinderella story ends, or will grit, determination, and their fairy cod mother, Joel, make their dreams come true? Then, North America's SSG. Former SI winners. They're no strangers to the main stage, but they have not made it there in 2 long years. Are they on the road to redemption? Or will this be another tragic tournament? Who will make main stage, and who will get so close but have to go home today? Hey everybody, I'm Jackie Jing with Jesse and Laxine. You know, losing never feels good. I think that goes without saying, right? But when you get this close, Laxine.
What?
Lots of wins too.
I mean, yeah, but I'm saying I've had my fair share of losses.
Yeah, but I think the big thing is getting this close and losing hurts so bad.
I've been there too, and it sure does. I've been there at the start losing, I've been there in the middle at losing, I've been at the end losing. And they all suck.
Yeah, we've seen teams deal with that.
Yeah, no,
right?
we have. We definitely have.
Even today, 2 teams have already gone home. We saw some really disappointing matches coming through. Of course, Wolves being sent home just in that last matchup. And then earlier today as well, we saw a really tough game from Virtus Pro where they also fell out of the tournament. We've got to send one more team home, which is unfortunate, but that's kind of how competition works.
Yeah,
I was going to say, it might be a little unfortunate for us because this is an NA team for us. I mean, we've been covering them. Do we want to see them go home? No. Do we want to see Bleed go home? No. But somebody has to go home.
Well, talking about NA, you know, we've been calling them the NA killer, beating M80 and Sonics. But Dark Zero, you know, got some revenge for their region yesterday. But how will Bleed line up against SSG, Laxine? I think that's the big question for today.
Well, when you look at Bleed and the teams that they lost to, specifically losing to FaZe and DZ, those are 2 teams that play more of a traditional, they clear perfectly. They're a lot more methodical with how they set up. But the teams that they did beat were those more aggressive teams, with them beating out M80, out Sonic. So now you're going to be playing against SSG. That is a very aggressive team. So they clearly know how to handle that aggression.
Yeah, I mean, Spacestation are aggressive, but they're not quite the same aggression that you'll see from any other team.
Correct.
Spacestation have their own style, which really does focus on the wild, the unexpected, the get in your face and don't stop moving type of play style that a lot of teams don't really go as far into. So for Spacestation and for Bleed, I know we've seen Bleed conquer North America. They have destroyed almost every NA team they've come up against, but Spacestation Gaming are a different beast, and it'll be a new challenge for Bleed today.
Yeah, I absolutely love the energy that we're feeling from the Bleed side of the room. I did want to talk about this a little bit. So, you know, Laxine, sometimes with SSG, you're like, they got to let loose, and Fresh is like, they got to get funky, right? Bleed, that's not an issue, I feel like. And Turd, the tweets have just been absurd.
Yeah.
Now, usually he's tweeting something like, Blink are looking like the best team at this event and are likely to win. They will 100% beat us and send us home. Today, a little bit of a different tone, more fighting words, I feel
Well,
like.
you're going against SSG. They're going to be chirping you, so you might as well bring that same sort of chirp back and to counter that. So that way you can't feel like you're getting beat up or you're losing the fight. You got to keep that fight right back at it and keep it at a 50-50 level, or run away with those rounds and keep that chirp going and then put that swing more in 100% favor on your side.
It's going to be a day about energy. Both these teams very loud. They will be yelling at each other all game long. You got to believe it. And so with these 2 squads going up against each other, keeping that momentum, that energy is so important.
Okay, very, very important question now. How many astronauts does it take to open a hatch?
1.
You'd hope.
I think.
Jack's going to take it away. Fresh, please explain.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Now, I'm over by the big screen, and I'm going to tell you it took 3 astronauts to fail to open a hatch. Now, SSG, they talk about the vibes, they talk about the brotherhood and the trust within each other. What I want to talk about is their fundamentals, because they've not been great. So we'll roll the clip. This is them on a laundry supply attack trying to open the meeting hatch. And we're going to play a game of which side won. We've got Wizard, who's going to be on the left-hand side, and we've got SSG, who are going to be on the right-hand side. Now, you'll see the very first time that they try, they're putting the Grim gadget down, but what does Grim do? Oh no, he puts it down way too early. 1-0 to the Cade. That's okay though. They've got the Thatcher, they've got the Grim, he puts it down in time this time, but the Thatcher does not send another Thatcher. Cade tricked. Well done, Wizard. 2-0 to Wizard now. Okay, bring the ace over. That's great. He can now breach, has to use 2/3 of his utility to do it, but he can do it. Again, what happens? Thatcher, way too late. 3-0 to the Cade. Nip actually managed in the end to completely keep this hatch closed, and note that the timer is now running all the way down. SSG, they've spent a whole minute trying to open a hatch and failed. So whilst they're a top team, the reason they've been struggling is plays like this. Back to you, Jackie.
Wow, Fresh keeping it real. Y'all did not know that I was.
No, I thought of every
Awesome.
possible space movie where they were
literally, like,
opening up a door, and I was like, I mean, surely one.
You both were dead silent, and Lax is just like, one? I'm sorry. Next time I'll let you all know. But you know what's coming up? Map bans. We're moving into the map ban selection process. Ooh, Jesse with the eyebrow raise. Okay.
Yeah, some odd bans in my mind. Bleed
Okay.
banning out Chalet through the first phase is a little bit of a strange one just because it is their most played map. They've run it a lot throughout the tournament, 4 times in Stage 2, with 3 of those being big wins. That counts both the Southeast Asian League and here inside of Atlanta. So a bit of an interesting choice from them. But still, we go to a couple of interesting maps still from Space Station as well. They end up picking Border. I do like this pick from SSG. Bleed lost Border to Cyclops during the Atlanta play-ins. It's a map that we know that they can be weak on at times. It's a map that SSG love to play on. It's a map that you can play very loose, very aggressive. Fits SSG's playstyle very, very well, so not surprised to see us go there.
Now, when you say it fits their playstyle really well, you know, you look back at the game against NIP that they played on that Border, and that was a close map. That could have went OT. So I definitely want to see them pick up on some of those mistakes that they were making and applying it here against Bleed, because Bleed is really going to bring that aggression on this map.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one to see. And then going forward, Kafe and Consulate to round things out. Consulate, I'm very excited because both these teams reign undefeated on Consulate. Bleed undefeated since it came out, playing it twice in Atlanta, 7-3, 8-6. Space Station undefeated, beating Mirage and Oxygen both through the NAL. So if we get to that third map, a streak will be broken.
I'm expecting we go to the third map.
I hope so.
Well, prediction time. Are we going with an A?
I mean, listen, I'm not going with NA just because it's NA, but I am. I think that the momentum is going to be super important for this matchup. I think that when you look at Space Station Gaming, their last couple of matches, Callout has been so consistent at keeping them going, making sure that they are in the server, always ready with those tack timeouts. Bleed, they've lost a couple of very close games. When it comes down to the wire, Bleed haven't been able to cross the finish line when it matters. So for me, I'm looking at the mental, I'm looking at the maps we're headed to. I'm going to go for Space Station.
All right, well, I'm going to be an NA hater. I'm actually going to go with Bleed for the simple fact that they have been playing these NA teams that do have that aggressive playstyle, and they have been shutting that down. So for that fact alone, I'm going to have to go with Bleed, taking it over SSG.
Okay, well.
And I like going against Jesse, so.
I thought that was more.
That's really what it is. I just like getting predictions better than Jesse.
Okay, well, you can be wrong. That's.
I mean, I haven't been wrong as much.
Okay, we're cutting this off here, breaking it up. We're going to hand it over to Intero, Pengu, and Dev. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Yes, I am surrounded by some of the greats here, towering over me, both literally and figuratively, and I'm super stoked to be here. Nick, you're looking taller than ever. Parker, how you feeling?
Very tall.
Too tall,
the air is
perhaps.
so thin up here. I don't get it. The air is so thin when you get up so high, James.
Well, I'm used to being down under, so that's how we balance it all out. I love a bit of altitude training, though, and it certainly has been an altitude camp for Space Station. What a run they have had at this major. A huge challenge, game after game, staving off elimination, and of course, they have North America's pride to defend here at the Atlanta major.
Yeah, they do. We know DC already made it through. SSG are screaming right now and getting excited for this match to begin. And I mean, yeah, they've been fighting tooth and nail since the very beginning, and they've been making that quote-unquote lower bracket run, if you will, going to best of 3 series, and just recently beating out a team like NIP 2-0 to get here. It's pretty good.
Glass bans aplenty today.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, Glass is a strong operator. I've been saying this for a long time.
Okay.
Glass is good. A Ying ban is also great. High prevalency in all the matches that we have seen. If not banned, picked quite extensively. You can bring those secondary hard breach gadgets or smokes. You've got the Candelas available. Good primary utility, good secondary utility, and a suppressed gun that can hit you about 70 times and you have no idea where it's
Last ban, James, quick. Last ban. What is it going to be?
Kite.
Solus, Azami. Under the pressure, man. I can't perform. Let's hope that Bleed and SSG do a better job of performing under pressure. But yes, Azami Valkyrie ban, nothing too uncommon. The lack of Azami is going to make it really hard to extend those holds into CCTV. But of course, you've still got your mirror for those crazy good power positions back on the site or in the 90 the hallway. And let's not forget Solus as well. So good for clearing out those pre-placed drones, forcing the attack to take a little bit more time and resources to take that map control if they're looking for the vertical nade play.
Yeah, I mean, I think these first couple of rounds really come down to who's going to set kind of the pace and kind of like, are we going to go for a quick border or a slow border? Because I do believe the attackers, they have so much control early on. You can do the blitz executes that are really, really quick. You can go for the very slow, fishing for kills with grenades downstairs, for example, and Bleed. They're a team that, I don't want to say they play methodical Siege, but I don't want to say they play like Cyclops either, where it's just completely chaos. They play this kind of mixed style where they can change things around as they kind of, you know, see fit, so to speak. But I'm curious what style they go for here on border.
Yeah, well, Bleed are a team that love to get up in the face of their opponent. They love to play the mental game, and that has really netted them a lot of their wins thus far. Of course, they have been dubbed the NA Killers after beating M80 and Sonics. However, a grueling loss at that to Dark Zero, 7-8 just yesterday, may have put that to bed. I think Spacestation really could be the nail in the coffin for this narrative of the NA Killers for Bleed. But on elimination game, let's see if Bleed have what it takes, have the experience to make it to the main stage for the first time in their career.
We just had a Middle Eastern team get up there, giving representation to a region that we've never seen play in front of a live audience. If you want to split hairs, since I guess Southeast Asia became its own region, they've never officially had a team there. But I mean, obviously, Aerowolf made it.
Elevate.
Yeah, we've had teams compete from that region before, so you often just have to resort to semantics for this kind of thing. But I mean, we love semantics.
Well, it'll be one of the first times we ever see a New Zealand player on the stage. Turdster, of course, not being from Southeast Asia, but down in Oceania. The rest of this roster looking poised to start exploding onto a bit of map control. As we said, CCTV a little bit easier to take, Nick, with that lack of Azami, but Ashton will not give it up without a bit of a fight.
Yeah, the pace is so quick here. I'm sure they haven't fought one another just yet, but they're so close. Hoven inside a break room, Aspie out of the CCTV window. If they want to go for this first engagement, they are primed and ready for it, but they want that last bit of intel before they go for it.
They're not going to give it up easy at all either. You have to work hard to establish control inside of security. Hoven is there. Ashen will see the nade fly on out. And not just a talented player, but Ashen has been a big voice for this team to keep SSG mentally in the matchup. This is a vibes team, as we often talk about it in North America. Ashen's gonna have to motivate from the bench, though, as Hoven starts things off with the very first kill and has managed to tackle break room and cleared out that security portion as well.
That's how you play Fingam. You go in, you get the job done, and you get out and hold those angles. Again, they go for a wave, they push up, drones come out, reset, rinse, repeat now. You get security control, that's step number one. Second step seems to be this office archives-oriented push here. Not the most common play to go for, but it might just work. Faults to Solus is downstairs below, could be a problem later on, and I don't think Bleed, they have intel that he's lurking downstairs.
We will have to be proactive, however. J90, what a great setup with this shield and long lines of sight. However, Hoven does start to move on forward, and he could be the difference maker for exploding onto this office and fountain area. Now, Reaps does not have any Selmas remaining, so that mirror window and fountain should remain intact as he looks to go on forward.
Well, there's the damage being done as both teams will trade back and forth. Bleed coming out ahead in a game of inches. Now with Diffuser in hands of Reaps, who's been simply phenomenal most of this tournament. He's shaken off of his position because the Solus down below has not been given enough respect. You gotta hunt down the last player as Fultz will see a never-ending stream from Bleed as he hops on, but the case is in a position where I don't think he can stop it in time. He's got multiple targets to focus on, but just not enough damage to be done as Bleed takes the first round.
And they set the pace, right? They go quick at the beginning, they get the opening kill, and they don't go for a conventional, let's go Armory, you know, that's expected of us. No. Let's change it up. Go for that office, archives, execute, but things, they get bad really, really quickly. They don't have enough Harpies to open up the sidewalls itself, and they're forced to brute force their way through the bomb site, but they forget or don't have intel on Fultz downstairs on the Solus. And it almost cost them the round, but a great mid-round adaptation that only took 4 seconds to realize, and they just went for that downstairs play.
That's the thing that we've noticed about Bleed. Not only are they aggressive, but they are so quick at flipping that switch. For a team that doesn't have as much experience as world champion Fultz or a lot of this, the rest of this Space Station roster, Bleed have really shown an immense maturity at not only playing aggressively, but knowing when to play passively and knowing on a dime when to change tack, right? Okay, Solus below, we have that information, doesn't matter. No sweat, no worries, no nerves. Move that plan spot over to the hard floor and send 1 or 2 players down below to distract and hopefully kill that Solus. So really prompt, really nice stuff already in the first round from Bleed.
Yeah, I mean, it is so impressive, and I mean, we all know, well, I say all, I know Mentalist. You know, he goes back a few years, played on some pretty good rosters, right? Fnatic, for example, but Invictus Gaming. But when you have a new roster in Bleed, when you're doing something new, it can be hard to kind of figure out what's your role in all this. Who's going to lead the team internationally? Who's got the experience? Who's got the nerve, so to speak? And I don't know the exact system that Bleed they function under, but whatever it is, I'm very impressed by it so far, because no matter what big names they're up against, they don't just roll over. They always fight into those like late rounds, overtime, or at the very least, they always put up a really good fight.
I mean, from a diversity standpoint, there's a part of me that would like to see an APAC team on the main stage. I know we've got somebody... I know we've got a little bit of a biased actor here. Not exactly the most reliable narrator when it comes to the way that Bleed likes to play. That's fine. You can get excited all you want.
Not the most reliable narrator. How dare you?
The bias is dripping.
Turt's gonna come and shut you right down, just like he's shut out hot and cold. Great work from Bleed as well, dismantling this fountain position. That mirror window completely nullified. Same can be said for the mirror on Armory. No wall denial whatsoever. However, SSG do have a reply, taking down Hoven.
Yeah, good reputation, and they're just gonna go for it. Take the fight to them. Reeps, it's both?
No bias. No bias at all. It's like the SI Grand Finals. He's losing his mind in the second round.
Mate, did you see that flick, Reeps?
That was great. I mean, that was just chaos, right? It's down to 2 versus 2 all of a sudden. Bleed, they pick apart the defense. They open up both mirror windows. Asher with a mute jammer in his pocket still, by the way, despite the walls getting opened up. And then SSG say, okay, we lost our stable positions of the mirror windows. Let's just run in towards the attackers and retake the map control that we had lost earlier. And even the score and the man count down to that 2 versus 2. With the fuses down on the ground with a minute to go. And Bleed gotta make a tough decision. Go for kills or pick up the diffuser and hit the side.
I think SSG may have done enough here on this drone. They bled a lot of time, no pun intended, and they took a lot of picks with them as well to the grave. Like you said, diffuser has been taken down. Mentalist very thankful to have a DMR in this position where he has a few more options. He can open up these hatches. The question is, where are these remaining SSG players? I don't think Bleed have a lot of information, though there are a lot of pre-placed drones already out on the board. Asvi and Mentalist will have to look for a way to push that diffuser down.
I mean, the entirety of those track stingers were used on the main portion of the stairs leading into that main doorway. You're expecting somebody to want to flank you through Workshop. Now you've just put it in a position where Ashen can play by this Workshop door. Yeah, he's got a cutoff that he can't run through, but you've effectively forced him into a spot where here's the engagement. Last track stinger to go down. Mentalist drops, and he will follow up on that noise. Attempting the plant as he doesn't have enough time. This should be an easy closeout as he sees the one player, and it's super shorty from Forest on the ground. Spacestation answer back in round number 2.
Yeah, and Ashen fired up as we all expect. A big round from Spacestation, really winning that roam game, forcing the late 2v2, and then just waiting and looking for those opportunities which were gifted to them on that hatch position. I think really well read from Spacestation. They knew that in that mid to late round, they didn't need to get over aggressive because Bleed have to do the problem solving, and they were likely to make a mistake or at least present some kind of a window for Spacestation to capitalize upon.
That's the thing, because like SSG right now, it's like a merge with like the former SSG players, or like former SSG players, and then Astralis as well. So they're kind of like this, half Astralis, half Spacestation, and they've merged their playstyle where they can advance into their opponents, but the discipline they have from like 2v2s and 3v3s, understanding the strategical side of Siege, where sometimes doing nothing is doing something. Simply the act of staying alive and not risking yourself to get shot down from a faraway angle and nade from below, etc. That's all you need, because as long as your members alive, the attackers know that they can't just run you down, they can't just walk into the building, they gotta worry about angles being covered, the crossfires being set up, etc. And SSG, one of the strongest teams in my opinion in those 2v2s.
SSG have had quite an incredible run this tournament. While they had a fairly easy opening game against Alpha Atheris from Latin America, they were pushed to the wire by Bliss. They won 8-7, qualifying for the Swiss phase, and immediately lost their first 2 games. They had a pretty tough draw. BDS and W7M, not always gonna be a lot of fun playing against those 2 behemoths, both major winners of course. Then they took down Scars. great revenge story. Then they took down NIP, a beautiful rematch of the SSG's championship back in 2020. Now they have to deal with the up-and-comers from APAC to earn their spot on that main stage. And I think it is possible, thanks to particularly the confidence they would have gained from those comeback games.
Yeah. You can beat big names previously in this tournament. You know you can beat them right now is when it matters the most. And again, the pace right now from Bleed not seeming to slow down anytime soon. Quick to E stairs, quick to that 90 hallway, pressuring CCTV windows, Hoven on the beats as well. Grim, they're looking for this pick. They got the red pings. Is it free?
Oh, what's this from Reaps? He starts to move on in. He is taken down. I thought he got down for a second, but I think Ashen might have been able to steal his way out of it. However, he does overpeak onto Hoven. So SSG can be pretty happy with that engagement, particularly taking down Reaps. Good cover. He almost came too late, but that player right in Armory helped back up Ashen, and he doesn't go down without a fight.
No numbers equalized, though, as Mentalist eliminating J90. It's the Kaid no more. Imagine at this point the Electric Claws are down and likely on that back wall from Workshop leading into the bathroom. Would be my suspicion at least. Actually, no, it looks like most of those walls are actually completely opened up. So anybody's guess, maybe on the hatches.
I was gonna say, this could be the good old HG hatch strat where you reinforce the hatches, and if the attackers take top wall control, they can't necessarily get them open up. Actually, for the jail wall,
One on jail
right
wall,
there,
yeah.
That was one of those claws went. And again, I said earlier, in the 2v2s and 3v3s, SSG don't understand when to play aggressive, when to play passive. Right now, they're waiting for the first move happening from Bleed. They got the bomb side, they got Vert control, and if Bleed don't move a muscle, why should SSG? They know the intel that they have to work with, and Force and Solus can tell them if they're going to be planting and where that plant goes down as well.
Well, it is a very similar story to what we saw on that Teller's Archives defense, right, Pangu?
Yeah.
SSG, no, they don't have to make a move. They're once again looking for the opportunity that Bleed can present, especially vacating that side. Bleed are unlikely to find a free pick.
We've got that Solus still on the board, which for me is the greater issue if I'm Bleed, because we saw how pivotal it was in round number one, even if it didn't ultimately win them at all. Hot and Cold surviving, Turds to not, Nitro Cell goes out. It's Turds to now last alive as all of them get dropped.
That was pretty nuts. To Hot and Cold's credit.
It was good. I mean, the thing is, right, you're thinking, oh, he's kind of loud in our ears. Imagine if you're Hot and Cold, right? You're sitting next to him with the in-ears wired in. You can only hear Ashen screaming into your ears. You're like, buddy, chill out, man.
I got a question for you. How much when you're playing at LAN can you actually hear the person sitting next to you, not through the headphones, but like just through the air sitting next to you, especially when they're screaming that loud? You hear them twice.
That's the thing. When you're playing in this setting, phase one, phase two, before like the main event with fans in the crowd, you hear most things. Like if you're playing against SSG as Bleed players can also hear like a muffled scream in the background, right? And it's why these players, they get so loud. It's that mental warfare upon one another where, hey, SSG win, get as loud as you can. Let Bleed know how you really feel and try and kind of throw them off their game, if you will.
I think we've seen more of that this event than potentially any event we've ever seen before. Of course, Canadian is very known for it. Ashen at his debut major is making quite a reputation for himself. Even players like Bibu and Renshiro, who you wouldn't typically expect it from, have started to really rile up, and sometimes it has a positive effect, sometimes it doesn't. For example, look at M80, right? Bodega is one of the loudest, if not the loudest people, and he's not even playing in the damn server, right? It certainly didn't help him, but it can be a double-edged sword, and especially for Bleed, I think when this is your debut and you're playing up against names like Faults, like Hot and Cold, like Forest Gen, there's something that clicks in the mental. But apparently something has clicked for Turd this round is he's already taken down the loudest guy in the server.
It's 2 rounds in a row where this Doc experiment, if we want to call it, has not netted anywhere near the results that I imagine SSG could have possibly hoped for. And yeah, I mean, this is what? This is the 3rd round now where Ashen has been one of, if not the first to die, in the first 2 for SSG. Now, obviously, his role means that he's going to be at the forefront of most of these assaults on attack and also roaming on defense. But you cannot be forfeiting this advantage every single round.
No, you can't. The thing is, the domino effect kind of takes place here because now there's no cross off the break room players. All of a sudden, he's very much under fire. That's Fultz now. Nade below, Asher on the door, but Fultz somehow finds a kill, survives the nades, and can just fall back as well.
This is utter domination from SSG. As I say that, there is something to walk away for Bleed, 1 pick, 2 picks, might be a numbers equality that they can capitalize upon. But SSG are really forcing these early engagements. They want to make it so Bleed are not in these 5v5s in the late round.
And I get that. I mean, it's border. Bomb sites themselves relatively weak compared to other maps. So if attackers can get there with 5 players alive against 5 defenders, they tend to win more often than not. When you play ranked on border, that's how that plays out. So here in pro play, you extend out pretty wide, pretty far, and you play around the entirety of the map. E-stairs, break room, CCTV, but also, of course, the bomb site itself. Turk now, looking through the side window, fishing for a kill, can't find any as of yet because SSG again, they know they're gonna have to move and take those risky positions. They're once again waiting for Bleed to make the first move for the 4th round in a row.
It's a bit of a game both directions as well, as a lot of these Bleed players are simply paying fairly close attention to the site, holding fairly passive angles and hoping that someone will push. A few of these objectives opening up these walls are proving difficult, but J9O perfectly times his swing, takes down Reaps. And there is no reply whatsoever from Bleed. J9O now on a really nice angle, and he will find a second, not a third, but Turtsa once again in a 1v3. And look at this from Bleed. Knowing that they have the Solus on the board, they fully forfeit control. No C4 available, but it should be very easy now for SSG to cover this in the post plant.
Turtsa's got that diffuser up above, making a ton of noise. Let's not talk about how simply loud that is. I don't know if there's an angle here. Yes, there is. Forrest to get it done. How is your voice held up? That's the question I have. It's like, I feel like I drink a single glass of water, cast one best of one, and I'm the Sandman. I'm like, I can't speak. And some of these players are just screaming nonstop.
The impressive thing is if you're Ashen, he died in the first 10 seconds of the round. He sits there watching the entire time, and then he just pops off like, good job, boys, 4 versus 5, we got it! And like, supportive cast, right? I mean, you gotta support the boys and they're doing well. And again, SSG, before this current roster, they're known to be a team on defense that are really good at setting up kind of like the puzzles the attackers to solve, right? The strategical layers, the front mirror windows, the fallback second layer, and then the bomb set itself, and then the backup plan. Drop downstairs with 2 members, you got the solos, you got at least 1 impact in pocket, and play off of that. Bleed. How they've been playing this tournament, James, do you feel like they can actually deal with that kind of playstyle? Because so far in border attack, it hasn't been the best performance from them so far.
Yeah, well, I think SSG have a really good read of pulling back and forcing Bleed to problem solve in that mid to late round, looking for those opportunities. Now, Bleed do need to make some kind of adaptation here, whether it's bringing more straightforward tools for the job. For example, Reaps couldn't breach a wall, so he had to get creative instead of just EMPing it or clearing it with some nades or something. So I think Bleed could go with that option, looking to go head on, or they could look for a more execute heavy strategy like we've seen from a lot of teams. However, no Ying, no Glaz, a little bit harder to do with those banned out.
That's the thing. Arbiter bans play a big part in how these maps they play out, and yeah, I mean, you got the Blades, you got the Munch if you want to get fancy with it, but the Ying and the Glaz can and typically are the front runners on border because of how open the map is and how much they enable those operators to do a lot of damage. Mid-round's been tough, but the early game for Bleed has been excellent. Usually to get the first opening pick uncontested or a trade at the very best case, which favors the attack inside, so it's not all bad for Bleed.
It does seem like the read is to play with the Nomad and look for this aggression. It works for 1, but not for the second. A good trade. However, Hot and Cold took a lot of damage for his trouble. I wouldn't be super happy if I'm SSG, but at least for them, they have peeled back one of the top fraggers for Bleed.
Ashen is still alive. Huge.
Yeah.
Huge at this point in the round. I looked up to see J9O on that, and I was like, oh, I didn't just cast her Curse Ashen. Playing a bit more of a sheltered role here. Now, with this being a Bathroom Teller's defense, there's a heavy extension out to this customs part of the map. Teams don't really like to hold customs because of how quickly it can fall, right? You lose jail, you lose that stock portion. They can even just walk in front door and start to pressure you. And it's a bomb site that has shown up here, but really doesn't show up much at all. I'd be shocked if we see it in this match. So to see SSG extending out so aggressively there as they have, is not abnormal, but it's very risky.
No, it is, but I think the fact that they notice that Bleed don't really play EMPs all that often, and then the kite is open, they kite the jail wall, they force out 2 grenades from Aspie, all the grenades, in fact, to open up a single wall. And it's like, even if SSG were to fall back immediately, they still burn a ton of utility, so value is found there, just off the rip, no effort needed from SSG, and now again, the mid-round, Bleed, they're droning, they're looking, they're scouting, but they're not finding anything.
Yeah, I think Bleed have suffered a little bit from looking to counter aggro in the early round instead of looking to hunt map control. Now, fortunately for them, they do take down Ashen. I believe Hot and Cold is still at large on the top floor, and if they can secure the final bullet required to kill him, then this round definitely opens up for the attacking side. But outside of that, we have seen SSG win 2v2s on this bomb site before, and with Forrest popping off like he has, I wouldn't be surprised if he can do so again.
No, I mean, it's anybody's game at this point, though the numbers obviously favoring SSG should give you a bit of relief if you're a fan of one of the remaining NA teams. The other one obviously already qualified at this point. Nearsightedness, not really an issue for Aspie as the case is getting down. And Hoven doing his best for coverage. It works out. Mentalist dropped. Hoven slaughtering Hot and Cold. No vault through the lobby will be done. Now Aspie backing up as a Nitro cell from J90 will potentially open some things up. But SSG gets pummeled by the gridlock in the post plant. And Bleed prevents Spacestation from putting 4 together. It's still SSG's lead, but only by a single round.
Surprising outcome in that round. It didn't look all that free, but Bleed, they got more intel than we do. They were like, guys, no one's covering this plant position. There's no one for the deny. C4 is all the way out in customs, you know, way off the bomb site itself. We can just kind of stick this. And it sounded very simple, it looked very simple, but it was right. They got a free plant down with no counter answer from SSG.
And as we move into the final round of the half, the final defense for Space Station, the question is begged of whether this is like a win condition for Bleed, right? Do they need a third round, or is it 2-4 a comebackable situation on their defensive side? Now, I would typically say Border is an attacking sided map. However, the stats, believe it or not, for Stage 2, conflict with that. It's 55% defensive favored holistically across the entire of BR6. I think the game is in that state at the moment with Fenrir coming in, Solus and Azami being so prevalent. And believe it or not, those operators, Fenrir and Solus, have come through. They've been unbanned. The Mirror as well. They've been prevalent every single round, and SSG are using them so well. And I think that does lead me to believe that the defense maybe could be a little favored here, especially with that Ying band out. But I think this is one of those games that's just going to go down to the round by round, which team's got that momentum and who's winning in these tight 2v2 late rounds.
I always believe as a former player myself that when you're starting a best-of-3 series and it's the first, match of the day for you as a team, starting defense is favorable no matter where you are, because you get to set up your default strats that you practiced and prepared for, and then the attackers, they got to problem solve around them. So Bleed getting 2, maybe even the 3rd round in the first map in the best-of-3 series, SSG's map pick, by the way, as well. On top of that, is actually a pretty good start statistically for them, but they gotta keep this composure that they've been having on attack on the defensive side as well. They get this final chance, can tie things up, and it's a bit of a slower start here for Bleed, right? Normally, by now, someone's died. Injury kill has happened, they're in the building, etc. But right now, both Ashen is playing further back, and Bleed also taking more time to make sure they drone everything.
Well, if anything, I think it's SSG who are setting that early round pace, and that's because they're not peeking. They're not contesting CCTV. They've actually fallen off their position inside of Office now. SSG are looking to peel back the layers of their defense and bleed out time. Take that away from the attack so that in the late round they will once again have these 2v2s, 4v4s, favorable situations for the defense. And this bomb site is yet to be cracked by the attack in this game. So I think SSG are sitting pretty, but it really comes down to whether Bleed can crack through this Fountain and Archives and Armory defense.
I was going to say, Fountain is their big focal point at the moment. And, well, they've got the job done with the nade at hand. Aspie, who was fantastic in the previous round, keeps it going this time. Joined by the supporting cast now of Reaps as well. And SSG are outnumbered by 2. Still over a minute to go, but the 5v3 is often considered the most dangerous lead in Rainbow Six for good reason. And even though Aspie gets on the board again, SSG gets 2 to put it in a 3v2, and they can ride out the remainder of the round with Ashen and Fultz.
But the thing is, number is still favoring Bleed. They're trading successfully upstairs. That's the most important thing. Get the first pick, then keep trading, and you'll end that, chaos upstairs with a one-man advantage. Bombset is downstairs, though. Both members of SSG are playing above, so they can deny the bombset entirely. There are smokes available from turret. But the issue is Falk got the Solus.
I think that Bleed know nobody's on site. The danger here is being baited in and allowing SSG to play for plant denial. Final round of the half. Foltz is looking for that diffuser. The EMP comes out. That's genius. And now Foltz must deny the plant, but Hoven's taken down Ashen, all up to the world champion, who can't quite hack it. And even half, and the Southeast Asians are extremely happy about that result.
That's smart.
It's not often sexy how you see an EMP get.
No.
Where you think, oh, you took something off the wall.
Yeah.
But that EMP was perfect.
It was.
They suspected there was a Solus upstairs because of the fact that every single round that we have seen SSG lose early man count, they immediately pivot and put the Solus in a position for the post plant, whether it be on that top floor or down below. And there's only so many spots that you could potentially be at as a Solus. If you're in a vulnerable position on attack, you know where that defender's gonna come from.
Yep.
Take a guess. Bleed, maybe a bit more than just guesswork, I'm not certain, but God, that was so hot.
No, it was. I mean, the
right,
here
Mark?
was... He's feeling it, you know?
I feel like Dev Marta in round 2 right now.
I mean, it was a great utility round from Bleed. The grenade to start things off, the MP to end it as well. And I was sitting there like, you said it, James. What if they get baited in, right? Oh, start planting. Oh, Solus is there. They shut it down again. The EMP is such a phenomenal way to just be like, you know what? We have an answer. We saved one EMP for this exact scenario. Or we just happen to have one spare in pocket. Either way, the great look. They get the 3-3 and they set themselves in a great position to actually take this border map.
Oh, wow. Very pacey E1D from Ashen. I like that. It's a bit of an ego move, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah,
hey,
kind of
we
is.
may be rushing right now. I mean, we're still in spawn.
Yeah.
The round has just started, but you don't know that.
Apply the pressure early. You know, keep him guessing. Oh, if he had fired the bullet. You see, the reasons like that is why I hated to watch back the VOD as when I was a player myself, because you're like, could have gotten a free kill if I pressed left click. But you don't know that in the server, right? You're not going to wallbang using a window every chance you can.
You miss every shot you don't take, Nick.
That is very, very true, however. So just, you know, one tap, anything you aim your crosshair at, and maybe sometimes you'll get a kill.
Well, first half, in terms of blood drawn at the very beginning, Bleed doing an excellent job of it. Same follows for this round. On defense, playing so aggressively with 2 picks coming in very early for Bleed. Spacestation eliminating Asfi, who's been a superstar through that first half and looked to be on the prime position to repeat it now in that round. Good enough to kill some time and take some bodies down with him. Now SSG must pivot, being down 1 body.
Poor Jin, I know, just getting some debris in his face holding that angle, but he's all right. And this has forced SSG into a very awkward position. They're down a player, they got 4 grenades in pocket, but no one can really drone for them to activate those grenades. They're going to gamble and guess here, but they got 2 coming at one time. And wow! Yeah, one doesn't do it, but both, they secure it.
It's funny, you could see the first one detonate a moment before the second.
Yeah.
He only took a tiny amount of damage, but the fact that there was 2 meant there was certain coverage. If they came out separately, a player could have, in theory, dodged both.
Yeah.
But yeah, perfect simultaneous grenades from SSG. I really like that.
It's a great pick, honestly, and Hot and Cold is doing the drone work right there. Outside the building, still classic support plan. This is a great play from Reaps. Very small thing, reinforcing off that back fountain position. So, like, basically making the bomb site a little bit simpler, but safer, and just denying SSG some of the pathways in towards the bomb site itself to enable those 3 guns to be aimed in the same direction to establish those crossfires.
Well, at this point, Spacestation not with that same level of confidence that we had seen previously. Though it is much easier to sit pretty on defense and not really have to move too much muscle. Reaps expecting that castle barricade to blow sky high. Tries to take advantage of SSG's lack of knowledge. It doesn't work out. Impact goes one way, nade the other. And they win the duel with Forrest sweeping through Turnstone. Hoven, SSG successful in their first attack.
They brute force it. I mean, they just run into the door. And the thing is, Reeves read the position well, right? He figured, Sledge gonna rotate, open up the window, I'm gonna get the free kill. But SSG also read the situation where one person holds, Sledge opens, and they actually get the kill. If that had gone the other way for Reeves, I think that round turns out in Bleed's favor.
Yeah, very much so, but I think you have to credit SSG. It's not on Reaps, it's on SSG for having having that read. A lot of players would just sledge that open, but it was the Finker who wanted to play that position, and he got the sledge to come over, which meant the Finker was covering as the window opened. And it's a minute difference we're seeing between both of these defenses from Bleed and from SSG. On the latter, you're seeing SSG always on their defenses in the late round, playing passive, playing for retake, not looking to give up any picks. In contrast, Bleed are always looking for opportunities to get aggressive and make picks. And I think SSG's read that really well, which has made this quite a challenge now for Bleed. They have to second guess themselves. Look how aggression worked well in the early round, but not in the late round. Does that mean we don't play aggressive at all? Does that mean that we keep playing aggressive? Does it mean we double down? Or does it mean that we have to change our play style mid-round?
And that's one of the best things you can do in this game of Siege, is like make your opponent question what they should be doing, and if anything, force them out of their comfort zone. Now, all of a sudden, they're playing heavy utility, right? The Fenrir, the Castle, the Frostware. Sure, they still have decent guns with them, but it's about the setup upstairs right now, so things have changed.
Can I just say as well that during the prep phase, Turd managed to find 3 of SSG's drones, and on Border, a map which you can really utilize quick map control if you have some good drones, it's going to force SSG to get a little bit more creative, and you have to have a lot more confidence. When you don't have drones, you're going to have to do a lot more dry peeking, and that can be a real challenge. What on earth is this from Action?
Gets the passport wall here.
Oh, that's cheeky.
Yep. The Monty as well. This is a little bit of different attack here, right?
Turns just said, I'm getting the hell out of here. Sees him right away, and okay, I'm leaving.
Like, what are you gonna do? Monty's walking at you, walls opened up, and this is the thing, they pick apart the first floor immediately, but Bleed got that like vertical advantage. They got top floor control still. Monty is strong, yes, but not against verticality. So SSG, they're forced to walk back upstairs now, spend more time to pick that apart.
So he's still going, by the way. Like, Forrest has not been slowed down at all. This is the slowest, what is it, the unstoppable force? This is the slowest unstoppable force that we've seen at this point.
The thing is, this is like a train that goes to nowhere, because he might have been unstoppable, but he hasn't gone any closer to the bomb site, and I think that Bleed still have some really solid off-site positions that SSG have failed to clear out so far, and it's really on SSG to start to get that hammer to crush into the anvil.
Yeah, and there's no grenade downstairs either. Those yellow pings and forwards, they don't lead anywhere either. Sure, Fulls opens up the army wall, but it's gonna be a pathway in. But the Monty's not in that position. He's in Beavers instead.
Saw some juggling of those dread mines as well, so the Monty will be obscured for a moment. The entirety of Armory's been cleared out.
He's gone. Yep. It's like a magic trick. You finally get in the building and the Roma has disappeared. Reaps has gone down. I'm not sure where that is. Oh, hot and cold.
J90, by the way, if the sounds of the gun are any indication, that was the para firing away as Reaps was dropped. Now it's Houghton inside of Customs, waiting for another pre-fire, but Hoven dances around it. Mentalist has died. He's having a really rough first map. The remainder of Reaps found as well. 40 seconds, Hoven greeting the Monty as he drops and just obliterating Mountainside. 3v2 for SSG. That becomes a 3v1. As that's good work being put in by J90. The flank comes in from Turnstile, but J90 has a particularly good round. Damn. SSG wins 2 in a row. Their lead stretches as they're up 5-3.
Sometimes the strength of the Monty is not the Monty itself, but rather the fact that all the attention goes upon him. So they're all worried about the Monty. Where is he? We're gonna run away, you know, hide, etc. But there are still 4 guns playing around it, supporting it as well. And I think Forrest did a great job at saying, I am not the main character, but I want them to think that I am. And they forced them back, quick map control, and an off-pace collapse to get those early kills in the middle of the round. And Bleed being down 2 rounds now, 3-5, I'm gonna call their tactical timeouts.
I wonder if we can hear anything that Bruce is saying.
Everything is good. Everything is good. Just the late round. Make sure the late round is doing the right thing. That's the only thing we need. Okay?
My understanding is that Bruce is less of a strategic coach and more of like a leadership management figure for the team. I could be wrong on that, but
Let's go.
Let's go!
Energy.
I'd be pretty confident that Mentalist is a lot of the leadership figure. He is by far the most experienced player on this team. But that's not to say that a lot of these other players can't be full of ideas as well. And it's funny, Nick, because it feels like Bleed have identified what we've been talking about for a while now, which is that it's that late round where Bleed have really suffered.
Yeah.
I think that comes down to SSG's read. Like, that was the case on SSG's defense. They knew how to pull back, let Bleed into sight, and then play those late rounds. And it's kind of a similar story on attack, right? After the initial kerfuffle, which I believe is the technical term,
Okay.
then Bleed do struggle a little bit at converting into an execute.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you said, like, leadership and experience, right? Mentalist is the oldest player on the roster, and he's, I believe, 23, which is very young, right? So you have players that are, like, 19, 18, 20 on this roster, first international experience, right? And I feel like it must put a lot of pressure on Mentalist's shoulders, because if you start losing these rounds and players are getting a bit timid, a little bit quiet, you gotta be like, guys, like, it's a best of 3 series. We got this. Come on, like, it's their map. We did great. We got 3 rounds right now. We're down in 2 rounds, etc. It's not the end of the world. But when you're a player in this position, it can feel like the world is just falling apart around you because it's not going well.
A cycle of life, isn't it? When Mentalist had his major debut, it was back in Tokoname in 2019, and he was the young 19-year-old at the time. Now the tables have turned, and he's leading this ragtag band of Southeast Asian and Oceanic players to a major.
It was when he was with Aerowolf, right? And they beat Giants so hard that they literally stole the organization.
That's right.
That's correct, if I remember correctly, is they beat the EU Giants so bad that Vodafone Giants stood back and they're like, we'll take the other guys. Yeah, we'll take them.
That's crazy.
That was actually a point of pride in my career because Aerowolf had been around for so long and had been inarguably the most successful Southeast Asian team, and I'd never been able to cast them up to that point. And that was, as far as I can recall, it was the first and only time I ever got to cast them was at Tokoname. And I mean, sometimes we have to set aside what we do as a job and just kind of revel in like the history and the mystique of some of these players, because at our core, we are fans of this game. Even if it is our job, sometimes it's nice to be able to put our words to historic moments, just as we saw with GK.
That's very well put. Speaking of history, this is a classic from SSG, if you watched it before. A Monty or an Osa on the Akos balcony walks in with the shield, establishes the plant. You gotta make sure there's nobody downstairs. You gotta EMP or shoot the C4 midair, and then go for that plant attempt.
What kind of denial is there? A C4? EMP. The C4 detonates just before the EMP detonates. And that means hot and cold. He's taken down Diffuser on the floor. Talon shields destroyed along with him. However, the round is not over yet. Just because the rush has failed, Ashen fires up for 1. And the numbers are even.
Right. The round's not over, but it's going to be a pivot here from SSG. They got to change everything around. The plan can no longer be attempted. They got to go for kills and map control now. Take Office, take Fountain, take Archives, and go for a different approach here.
You have limited options when you've gone all in on one way, but the good news is Spacestation has good gunners. So even if they themselves aren't the best strategically, they can still hit their marks. Mentalist with the drive-by onto Forest as now Ashen walks in. Turdsta eliminates him. No drone work to be done. Final 30 seconds. Turdsta holding court inside of Archives.
It doesn't take much, it seems, for Turdsta. He simply makes Archives his own. He will have to win a single 1v1. No, not if Mentalist steals it from him. And there's the energy we were looking for from Bleed. They're once again within touching distance of their opponents, just trailing a single round behind. But that match point is feeling further away than ever for SSG.
It's crazy to think that about 0.5 seconds changed the entire outcome of that round. If the MP had gone out a little bit earlier, or C4 tossed a little bit later, that plant guaranteed goes down, in my book at least. That enables the post plant in a 5v5, which heavily, so heavily, favors the attackers of SSG. So such a small thing with a massive impact in the round, but Bleed had a good read that the shut down the plant, adaptation, the rotation, and they played together in that 2v1 as well. Yes, Mentis went for the swing, but Turdsta, the anchor on the bomb side, picking things up. Mentis with a disgusting wallbang on the Forest as well. We're almost tied up. It's 4-5 now, still in favor of SSG.
I mean, I think I'll say this. Looking at the maps that we have right in front of us, Border is a brawl-heavy map. We expect there to be lots of gunfights. Both of these teams are so proficient at taking engagements. Both of these teams are so good that when the going gets tough, as we saw in the previous round, you can still mostly shoot your way out of it. Kafe is going to be a completely different ballgame, as will Consulate if we need it. The fact that on Space Station's map, Bleed is keeping it this close is a bit of a worrying sign if I'm Space Station. But SSG have been here before.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to talk about the entirety of SSG's performance through this entire tourney, it's been worrisome. Because every single time it looks like Space Station is on the ropes, they manage to fight their way off of them.
Yep.
They've got their hands full right now with Bleed, but honestly, Bleed are another team that they are always keeping pace with their opponents.
It's true, and just to raise the stakes here for SSG, this is their map pick, of course, anyone can see that, but what you might not realize that this year, SSG's tied most banned map as Kafe, and that's where Bleed have decided to take us. They nearly beat Dark Zero on it yesterday, and they will have learned a lot from that 7-8 experience. So for me, it's all the more important that SSG win this map to stay alive in the BO3. Otherwise, frankly, there is a reality here where Bleed go 2-0.
You don't want to be a North American team and a North American major and not making top 8 playing in front of the crowd, because that's your dream, that's your goal, and it should be. And Forrest, he hears that and says, you know what, I'm going to get that over and kill it, put me one round closer at least, put me an advantage in this round to get closer to win this map.
He immediately jumps straight back out the window as well. He might be low HP. Same can be said for Ashen, but he's like, okay, I got my pick and I'm out. But Bleed could very quickly even up this numbers advantage if they can find these 2 low HP players. So SSG, the onus is on them to slow down.
Yep. Resets, regain intel, and stabilize.
Good drone.
Very good intel, I would say, all across the board. Only 2 drones dead as well from SSG, so they got intel to work with, but likewise, Bleed, they got the default cameras, got the pulse scanner as well, but only 1 C4 to work with on the verticality.
Surveying for hostiles.
I really like whether you had the Solus on the side of SSG or now the Pulse on the side of Bleed, how well these teams are playing this off-site information game. And it's nice that this has been introduced, especially with Solus. And we've now seen more Valkyries, more Pulses over the course of this event being deliberately placed just to thwart whatever execute might come out.
Turtsa is still being droned here. Finally spots it in time. But SSG have plenty of information. It looks like Bleed are taking a leaf out of SSG's book. They're playing the late round very passively. They failed to even up that numbers advantage. Huncold still above, but his nades find nothing. However, J9 knows DMR opens up the equation to kill onto Turtsa. 3v5, becoming a 2v5 so swiftly now for Bleed as Fultz forces down that diffuser. Could it be a flawless round? Reap says, hold that for a second. The diffuser still being planted. Reaps with it all to do. And round in the corner, he cannot stand up against the might of J9O. Infallible this game. And match point is on the cards for SSG.
Oh, what a great round from them as well. The intel that the drones were just so precise, always having the exact location of the pulse, knowing whether or not he's in the scanner, not down to the C4s. And then, I mean, yeah, Reeps missed a shot onto the passive player from Space Station, but it didn't matter. The execute was from office hatch down to bathroom, get that diffuser planted, and then the crossfires are established for the post plant. There's no way back for the retake, and Bleed, well, they look completely locked out of that round.
I swear, if SSG win this game, I think that they'll need to start paying me money, because I think I've casted them like 10 times. Every time they have a hard-fought victory, every single time I cast them, and more often than not, it's against my APAC homies.
Oh, man.
I mean, that's fine, but SSG, mate, I'm here for it.
We were saying the same thing about Wolves yesterday. Well, I think every time we've casted Wolves, I think they've won, and you and I have actually casted like every single Wolves match. I think at SI we followed Wolves. I think at Copenhagen we followed Wolves. We've been there with them through all of it. And I guess like we're good voodoo magic, I suppose, with them, right?
Except against GK, I guess.
We're good luck. Sorry?
Except just earlier today, I guess.
I mean, sometimes plot armor only goes so far. There is fatal weaponry out there, and in this particular case, they had their hands full. But I mean, it's nice to follow these teams. It's nice to see their successes and sometimes their failures.
Well, you could say that Bleed has had a lot of plot armor this tournament with all of the upsets, with the amazing narrative that they have spearheaded for themselves with Fish, the Fish, Joel himself. But will that stop here against SSG? Remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you Bleed, you gotta worry about the long term here, right? The second, the third map, but of course you're not out of this just yet. Just don't knock yourself down too hard mentally if you're to lose out on border. They're defending right now. They got the layers, they got the roam, they got the extension set up, but there is one big factor to this round, I think. Hot and Cold brought out that very niche operative nuke. Hot and Cold, one of the best nuke players in the world by my count. Just always finding the gaps and finding those picks. The upside down repels that up. This door is a bit of a positive one on break door, but hey,
he's got
might get punished. Yep, that's free.
Turtsa gets one on the run out, and no more than that. And Ashen again, first to die, though it's been quite a while since he was unfortunately on the wrong side of an initial engagement.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how Bliss will play, Bleed will play this now. SSG are actually starting to force a plant down. Is there any information on this? Bleed, where are you? Forrest is knocking at the door. Actually, he's tearing it down. Asfi finds one, but the trade comes through swiftly from Fultz. A nigh impossible post plant as Hot and Cold is hunted and taken down. Jane, I know, has been so good in this match, and now him and Fultz will have to cover. The DMR is perfect! SSG out of absolutely nowhere. Close the map.
Excuse me? Of all the ways for that to end?
Out of nowhere.
It's the high caliber DMR through the ground. Hipfire, not even trying to aim at that point. He just knows where it is. A stunner of a first map, boys.
Yeah, that was. I mean, the off-pace plant out of nowhere. So you know what? Well, you think we're gonna run clear? Nah, we're gonna go for the plant, check the round.
Well, that's it for map number 1. SSG, they win their map 7-4. What can Bleed muster on Kafe? We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Hello, I'm Dominique Clément, game designer on Rainbow Six Siege. The next season is right around the corner. And if you don't get the latest operator on release, you might still want to review your ABCs on some of the operators already available today in the game. The Electric Bandit, the Wise Kaid, and the Quiet Mute will be welcoming a new troublemaker into their ranks, ready to give breachers a few headaches. Working out your pulse and soleus muscles will ensure you'll be able to provide invaluable intel to this new operator. And let's not forget about Ella, Fenrir, and our other trap operators who each bring a unique ingredient that can be used in crafting some really crazy strategies with this new operator. So jump into the game and review your basics with these operators, so you'll be ready to synergize with the new operator when it comes out next season. See you then.
Yes, G2 have had a win. They have also had a loss.
Of course, I think G2 is the best team in the world. And now it's up to us to defend that, to prove everyone that we're right.
When I'm in a tournament, I don't care about the nationality of the enemies. I play every game like it's the same game.
Good luck, guys.
There's a lot of up and downs, but with this new MAD roster, I believe we can create something.
Life is just it's a constant growth. It's mostly just kind of knowing yourself and not being afraid to just pick on yourself and get better.
There's nothing better than seeing your top players pop off and your top players perform. That's where the magic really happens.
I think that M8 is one of those teams that we will really struggle against because they understand things the same way we do and they have equally as talented players.
We don't really have a rival. The only rival is ourselves, so as long as we get over that, there's no one in our way.
Hey guys, it's Gio from Sonics, and welcome to my fresh install. For diffuser, I have manual because I play support, so I gotta make sure I have the bomb at all times or I'm able to drop it inside the site. For drone prep, also manual. You also want to sit on your entries drones as long as possible, especially if they're up. HUD, I actually just keep everything the same. Doesn't really change much. Audio, everything on super high. I play night mode, surprisingly. I don't know, a lot of people don't play like that, but I like it. Basically for display, we go to as many hertz as you can. We go to 4.3, but that's all preference. I like 4.384 for me. 4.384, and then at the bottom, I personally do 95 HUD display area, and then 94 menu display area, with a brightness of 61, I think it was, some odd number like that. Graphics, I have a pretty bad PC at home, so everything's on super low. We go low, we go LOD quality high, shading quality low, shadow quality, pretty sure that's very high so you can see the shadows when they peek you. Reflection quality low, VFX low, ambient occlusion low, anti-aliasing off. And that's basically it for graphics. Make sure you always press apply so you have your settings saved. Control is the important part. I would say raw input off, mouse inversion obviously disabled, then sense is obviously up to you, but I play 1010, 400. You can mess with the magnification obviously. I play with, let me see if it lets me. Thing 1x is 28, 1x 28, 1.5, 55, 56, and then 57. Mouse scroll wheel, I have it off because I grip the mouse kind of weird. Gadget deployment, advanced, joint deployment, advanced. I think those are really important to have on. aim on hold, lean actually on hold as well, because I lean with my mouse buttons, sprint, hold, crouch, toggle, prone toggle, and then walk toggle. For the keybinds, I actually have some kind of crazy keybinds. I lean with my mouse buttons, so this would be just have the mouse buttons, and then I gadget is Q and E is melee, so that's kind of it. For control is my prone, and then it's basically it. Everything else is kind of default. Just make sure you're leaning with your mouse buttons, and then your gadget is Q and your melee is E. So it's kind of weird, but I mean, it's all preference. Accessibility for optic colors. Yeah, I like the light green with 100 opacity. I'm kind of blind, so I mean, I'm blind and old, so it makes me see better. At least, now that's what I think, could be placebo, but it's all preference. Everything default, and then opacity 100. I tried 50 or lower, but I mean, can't really see, so up to you really. And just make sure you're applying all your settings. Thanks for watching my fresh install, and see you guys at the major.
Welcome back. SSG wins 7-4 map 1 border, defeating Bleed on SSG's map pick. You know, there is definitely some tension in the game area right now. A quieter Bleed than we've seen. SSG pretty calm and collected, with exception to Animated Ashen. But Laxon, you were saying they're pretty even, actually, when it comes to energy level. Elimination on the line, they want to get to the main stage.
I mean, that's the beautiful thing about being here is you can hear everything that's going on. So every single round that was won by each one of these teams, they were both screaming at each other, just screaming at one another when they won those rounds. So I can't say the energy has been off for either side. Obviously, Bleed come out with the loss, so they were a little down on themselves.
Yeah.
But, I mean, energy-wise, they're both equally.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is really the matchup we wanted between Bleed and Space Station. Both these teams bringing the energy. That final round in particular, the most Space Station round maybe that we've seen so far. This is a round where they're planting 4v5. They lost the opening pick, and then Space Station Gaming, they kill everybody who jumps out the building at them. Bleed are throwing all of their bodies at the wall. They threw 2 players outside the ventilation window, or the archives window,
even aiming
to
at
jump
them.
through. And then J90 on the Twitch tries to open the floor, and he breaks through the floor, finds 2 headshots as he's no-scope, just trying to open an angle to deny that post plant.
I have never seen hipfire work that beautifully, especially with the DMR.
Some people are just lucky with it. Never me.
Well, oh, sorry.
No. You can continue.
Well, I was going to say, because recently on the desk, we were talking about some players maybe not having a not-so-great performance, whatever that looks like. Mentalist didn't have the strongest performance this map, but in the specific round, I believe it was the 8th round, it came into that 4v2 on the Archive Armory. Mentalist came alive, and he clutched up on that round, and it just goes to show that just because you're having a bad performance, it doesn't mean you still aren't of value to your team. And it also for Mentalist to still have that mentality of, sure, he's not playing great, but what is he providing in those rounds? What comms is he given? What information is being fed? And to still have that mentality to finish strong, that's what you want from players.
I also wanted to actually talk about Mentalist's mental game. I do believe that there's a lot on his shoulders right now. I mean, he's trying to carry these young guns and lead them, like you were saying. I guess moving forward, how do you think they're going to be able to recalibrate?
Well, and that's the thing. It shouldn't just be on Mentalist to think that he has to lead these young guns. That's the reason why they're a team, is they can help him as well and help him improve. Okay. And that's why I was saying, I'm sure even with him not being crazy on that stat line, that he still is able to bring that experience and coach them in these rounds or in these positions or giving them that feedback to then play off that. So I have no doubt in my mind that the mental is still there.
Okay. Yeah, I think they really got to keep it together. You know, they've been playing together for ranked or whatever it might be for a long time. They're going to have that synergy out on the roam. That's where they need to be stepping things up. That's where they need to see them really bunkering down and making sure they can get these trades.
Okay, let's move ahead to map 2, Kafe. Different map.
Yep.
Anything goes. You actually were chatting with me earlier, and you were like, it's pretty even here.
Yeah, I don't think it's too bad of a Kafe for Space Station. 5 plays this stage. All of them were very, very close. Recent plays include an 8-7 loss against Wildcard in the NAL playoffs and a 7-5 win to send Scars home the third day of Swiss in Atlanta. So they're very comfortable on Kafe. They've had some shakier maps. Certainly for Bleed as well. You know, they're 1-2, technically a negative record, but the scorelines do present a pretty positive map overall. 7-0 win over Cyclops, and then both of their losses were 8-7. Those were against Elevate and Dark Zero. So I think both teams comfortable here. Good results. I think we should see an even game.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd like to say in the beginning that both teams should be taking their maps respectively, and this is where I do think Bleed comes alive here and really pushes SSG to their limits and walks away with this map. Specifically looking back at that game with DZ, that was a very close game, and DZ actually came up with that bounce back, whereas I think Bleed is going to look into that and see why that happened and where those errors were being made, and then applying it here and going to stop SSG in the forefront.
Okay. Are you sticking with Bleed?
Of course I'm sticking with Bleed.
Okay. SSG?
The ball's
2-0?
rolling, Jackie.
What
I
do
think
you
it's 2-0. I think it's going 2-0.
The Rocket's going.
Well, we shall see. Someone's going home, though. Intero, Pengu, and Dev. Take it away.
Well, thank you so very much. The last hope for an entire region. I have to say that in air quotes because I know you'll... But APAC is not just one region anymore. Rests in the hands of Bleed. For the home region, though, they've already got DZ on the main stage, and they are eager, I'm sure, to have a second representative. Space Station are 1 map away from being the second North American team and the last team to qualify for main stage.
That's right, and Space Station are also the only All-American team at the Major in the first place. Every other NA team, including Dark Zero, of course, with Canadian, have a player from some other region. I'm actually not sure. You could probably ask him. I think some like small island off the coast of America.
Canadians on home soil, did you know that?
Just like you.
When I think of Atlanta, I think of Canadian.
Canadian.
Oh, Turdster, yes, indeed, you are playing Space Station Gaming. That is correct.
It's good to make sure, you know.
Did you guys see the tweet that Turd put out? But before every single match, I think Jackie had on the desk earlier. He's been saying like, BDS looking like the best team in the tournament. They'll definitely destroy us and send us home. For today, he said, Space Station looking like the best team in the... I can't take this seriously. This is going to be a mid-off, and we'll see who makes main stage.
You know, a mid-off implies that you, too, are also a mid-team.
I think that's what he's implying.
But fair enough. I mean, I used to, when I was a player, I used to go on with this mentality that I always believed that we would lose. Because then I'm always playing like it matters. Like, I gotta clutch every single round, and like if losing is the expected outcome, I'm not like afraid of losing, you know? So I think Turks the Madison like reverse psychology where, oh, you guys are so good, you're better, etc. And then he smokes them on plating. I like it.
Well, he did have a big round on Border with that Archives hold.
He did.
On Kafe, though, as we've discussed, extremely different map in terms of how it plays out compared to Border, and this now is Bleed's pick. So if there's anything going for them, it's the fact that they knew they were coming here. They picked it today, despite losing it to DZ yesterday. Now they're playing another North American team. Let's see if these supposed NA killers can live up to the name.
I want to see some more flavor in this map because Border was pretty vanilla. Besides like 1 or 2 rounds, they were pretty fast-paced. That was mostly from Space Station, actually. And Ying is banned against. That's of course not going to be played this time around. but we do have stuff like the Glass, the Grim, the Capital, the Blitz, the Monty, etc, etc, etc. Valkyrie and Fenrir both been banned off, very common stuff for Kafe, whereas Hibana is a bit of an odd one. I don't recall the last Hibana ban.
I mean, the question for me is that Hibana banned to try and protect those Azami Keeper barriers?
Could be, actually.
Or is it to try and protect the hatches and force a sledge or something and enable more aggressive C4s? I'm not sure what the idea is there. But for SSG, I think it's a fair ban. They clearly watched Bleed's match yesterday, and Bleed did play Hibana, I think, almost every single round. It was their main hard breacher, if I recall correctly, in their game against DZ. Now, my concern, Nick, here is when it comes to Bleed, who are starting on the attacking side, as SSG got to pick sides, they're going up against Azami, Mira, all of the catch possible, Solus as well. And that is a really hard lineup to fight.
No, it is. And this is a classic SSG defense where they have like 3 different layers to this. They start in piano with Q barriers, they fall back, they got bathroom mirror window or cocktail mirror window, then they got the side downstairs as well. They do this domestically in the North American League all the time, and even the North American teams who know them so well, they scrim them every single week, they struggle against this because you gotta worry about so many things throughout the round, and the moment you drop down a hatch, the moment you enter the building, you're always constantly on the fire, under pressure, and we see Foles playing Cigar, doors castle barricaded, Bleed, they got a problem solved from the very second they reach the building. Mentally speaking, it's going to take a toll on players like Mentalist to IGL this round.
Mentally, it'll take a toll on Mentalist? Was that a deliberate?
That was the angle.
Did you do that?
No, his name just happens to be that. You know, I can't
so
call that.
That is so convenient. James, you've watched a lot of Bleed.
Yes.
What are we going to expect from them on Kafe as a whole?
Well, I think for many APAC teams, you're versing a team just like every other team from every other region. You're going to see, especially on Kafe, looking to clear from this piano side or go for an East take. Now, it is the former rather than the latter. And unfortunately, Bleed have already lost one of their most important operators, the Sledge, for taking down these castle barricades, for using those grenades. And they're at a bit of a loss at how to clear that position. However, they did eventually push Foltz out of shop, where he was hard holding, but not without losing a player. And I think SSG, like you said, happy to peel back the layers, happy to peel away a few kills for Ashen too. Holding this mirror position on the bar, Bleed, just 2 players left and a 2v4.
I mean, that was just a desperate attempt. You know, no easy way in, so just full sentence if you can get a kill, but no Ashen on the mirror in the position, takes down 3 players back to back to back, and Turchta alone in the 1v4. We got this classic 3-member stack up.
It's not happening.
Come on, Pika Turchta, you got this. There's only going to be one guy there.
Who's taking it? Who's taking it?
Oh my god. All 4 of them are watching this angle.
J90 lying on the ground with a pistol like he's a secret agent.
Oh, it's Foltz.
Holy moly.
Oh, it's round 1, bro. Chill.
3. They can't control themselves.
I said in map 1, this is a vibes team. They live and die off the vibes. And one thing that Ashen has undeniably brought to this Space Station roster is vibes. You can't see it, by the way, but every single player in the server right now is rocking the Space Station player card. They did the same thing with Faye.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they've done it, I think, for every team.
Did they do it with DZ as well
Off the top of my head, they did.
Incidentally, that DZ match was played on Kafe, so you've got a good amount of footage on that. So SSG are probably imbued with some of that information.
Well, also, just as we were talking about that Azami setup, I'm casting my mind back to the BDS game from earlier today, and I really liked what BDS brought. They were actually taking Kali to their upstairs bomb site. Yeah, Renshi on the Kali. He loves that operator, and with the 4 Lancers, you can clear a lot of those keeper barriers relatively easily, and the castle barricades as well, which SSG are bringing here.
Yeah,
I think that would have been a good adaptation in the absence of the Hibana.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, like, Hibana brings you flashbang, switch on Kafe, ADS is very important, of course, but also, as you said, the keeper barriers.
Whoa.
That was a nice attempt, bit of damage,
Trying to pull a turdster.
You gotta go fast, right? But, it's a full man court here.
That's why you bring a warden? Get that 1 point.
Just spawn peek, yeah,
why not? I mean, you just play for the gun at this point.
He doesn't have a gadget, does he? Nah, I don't think so.
No buck, by the way, on a kitchen execute. Who now carries all that weight for the soft destruction on the top floor? I'm assuming that a linear take from Bleed was not in the cards. Probably we're going to put one of them up the stairs. Hold on.
He just walked in bakery?
I think a linear take is going to have to be on the cards here, though.
Without the buck, yes.
Without the buck, and also with the pick and bakery control. So usually it takes a long time to get bakery. Reaps has snuck in and taken down Ashen. Getting revenge for that spawn peak. This is theoretically possible for Bleed. It's going to be challenging, though.
Yeah.
But I think they do have the ingredients to make a bakery takery work.
The thing is, normally here you'd say...
I caught that. I caught that.
You have the 4 smoke grenades, that's great, but you got Warden and Solis up against you. You can't just go for a cheese plant. You can't see through the smoke, but Warden can. So Fultz and Jane, I know, the 2 big star players here.
There's already closet control as well for Mentalist. That's another one of the big tick boxes if you're going for a bakery take.
Very quickly to get it. I mean, obviously SSG would have heard that proximity alarm go off, so they know that somebody is in there. But there's a lot of phantom pressure, which is a word that we use from time to time. And I mean, if you throw a Valkyrie camera in an area or a goo mine, for example, you don't need to physically hold that map control. Your gadget's going to do that instead. Hold on, Reaps has found an opening, and Fultz will wait for it as there go the logic bombs, and he can ping away. I don't know if he can stop it there. The impact to go out. Is he pulling it off? He manages to do so. Spacestation slaughtered by Turnsta. Asfi as well, a kill, and J90, the last man standing, out-dueled by Mentalist. That is
impressive.
A ballsy play.
It doesn't matter if you get your buck spawn picked. Who cares about verticality?
Yeah.
We'll let you have the top floor. We'll let you have those angles looking down. Don't even care you got the Solus. We'll find a little nook and cranny and we will plant there.
Yeah, and it was if they had a player from SSG inside of the small box, right, the closet area, all of a sudden you can't plant that position, but they gave away so much map control because Spacestation, they wanted to hold the first primary floor for verticality. They were holding downstairs as well, but again, one plant spot couldn't quite be covered. Sure, if Reeves was low on HP and those 2 impact grenades would get the injure or the kill, that solidifies the round, but they didn't. And I mean, the Forest just kind of dies at a really good angle there.
And this is the 2023 meta of Rainbow Six Siege, right? It's a game of all these little mini games happening at the same time, and adaptation.
Yeah, I did a lot of thinking on this before the major started, because if you go back to like 18, 19, 20 of Siege, every team had like different like identities. It was all about breaking the meta first, figuring out how the game was played, and then other teams would follow you, but you're the better team at it. Now it's the game of inches or of centimeters, right? Every single team is trying to get a little bit better than each other at the fundamentals of the game. The droning, the clearing, the trading, etc. And the best teams in the world right now, they're on like the 94% of like performance, right? Whereas the bottom teams of this major are at like 75%. So teams play a similar style a lot of times, similar operators and strategies, but it's all about who's a little bit better at those teeny tiny details, and that can build you those leads.
And those teams that come in with more prepared pocket strats and looking for rushes, I've seen a lot of it from Wolves this tournament. I've seen it a ton from Virtus Pro, and I've seen it a little bit from FaZe. It was an MO of theirs in the past.
Yeah.
A lot of that hasn't worked out. We've seen that with Wolves and VP being eliminated from the tournament. You're right, Nick. You need to be good at everything in this current meta of Siege.
Well, you do, and SSG, they are one of these teams that can play usually all 4 bomb sides. And in particular, as well as Brazil, they love this mining bomb side. You play the post or Solus downstairs, the mirror windows on side, you play C4s, and all of a sudden Bleed, just like the first round, they don't really know where to enter the building.
We saw Hot and Cold, by the way, as those tracers go in from Turnsta on Repel, still looking for Houghton. There was a brief window of time where I think a vault out was possible, but all the while, that Ram is being distracted. 2 on Repel now with Reaps there for backup just in case the run out does net a single kill.
But they got into the building. You can't win from outside on window Repel, at least not without like some sort of planned attempt, but that's not gonna happen. C4s and pockets, mirror windows, Solus, etc. Top floor control is still in favor of SSG as well.
Twitch Trend has just managed to find that primary mirror window watching the red hallway, which does expose SSG's position somewhat, but realistically, the top floor needs to be cleared as Fultz has taken down Turnsta.
And there goes those boogies as well. I don't know where the intended application was. Last I saw Turret at 3 in pocket.
Oh, there's a free kill.
Yeah, Mentalist sees Forest trapped in the corner. Hoven, though, credited with the kill. Now as the cross is established, the proximity alarm will continue to give away the position of at least Mentalist as Hoven slaughters Ashen, a second pick. J90 dying to Mentalist. All this control from above is netted a surplus of kills for Bleed.
I mean, 1 or 2 rounds ago, Ashen was shit-talking for repelling in the heaven window, and then Hoven makes it work and kills it, so I don't know about that. SSG fighting from behind now after a couple of isolated 1 versus 1s. It's going to be really challenging, Nick, to hold onto the side.
Yeah, it is, and then there goes a flank attempt against 1, but he needs more than just that.
It's a diffuser as well, so a very powerful position.
Oh, he's lost.
Oh, he's all alone. Yeah, and they will hunt him down. Hoven at the angle from long range. 2-1 for
I mean, very isolated members there from Spacestation. Every single member died alone, no trades, nobody even within like a close proximity either. And it's a mixture of good intel from Bleed, seeking those openings, and just going for those kills out of nowhere. But also Spacestation, they don't typically play Kafe spread out. They like to play close together around the utility, around the mirror windows, and in that round, they did the opposite. There's been so thin across the map that nobody could help one another.
Yeah, and can I just say as well, Kafe is the second thank you for your permission, Tengu.
You may as well.
Thank you. I think every time I want to speak in this trio, I'm going to have to ask both of you, get the sign off. We might have to send it up to the higher-ups at last. But as I was saying, Kafe is the second most defender-sided map at the tournament thus far. And that's 59% defense. So you should be expecting 4 of your defense wins. Bleed has already found their 2 attacks as par for the course this half. Any more from here on out is looking a bit scary for SSG.
You know, one of the reasons why I was such a good player, Dev, is because I suck at math. You tell me that this is a 50% defensive favor, saying, you know what, I bet I can take more attack rounds. I don't care what the numbers say.
Oh, why are you so good?
No, was. Past tense. I'm washed now, Parker.
You did tell me the other day that you could replace a lot of players in a lot of these teams and improve them.
We don't say that publicly. That's in the talent agreement, right? We got to toot our own horn sometimes.
I got to throw you under the bus for that.
Yeah.
I won't name names.
I'm sorry, Kino.
Oh!
I'm sorry.
I wasn't going to say it.
The closest you get to being in the server is criticizing those who are able to.
The closest you get to being in the server is playing a different game in our hotel rooms the night before.
I mean, hey, that's all I've ever been. I never pretended to be a pro. I didn't pretend either. Hello? You didn't need to pretend. You lived it, but not anymore.
Not anymore.
Keep reliving the glory days. You're the guy sitting at the bar being like, you know, I used to play for the Yankees.
Back in my day.
Yes, Grandpa, let's get you back to bed.
No, that's what it is. Retirement home, yeah. And it's why it's so impressive to see some of the players like Troy still play, of course, and compete. But in this server right now, everyone's relatively young, right? What's Hot and Cold are 4 the oldest members right now in the server?
Hot and Cold, 25 years old.
There it is. Yeah.
How do you have that information?
He just knew that.
I know it all, man.
I remember when he turned, what did he? He turned 23 and they put him on hard breach. He said, that's it.
Yeah.
The end is coming. Fultz, by the way, dying out. He's not one of the oldest players on the team, but he's certainly been around the block for quite a long period of time. Bleed with that advantage. Hot and Cold with one, immediately silenced by Pillars. Look at how quick to the punch they are. Damn. With Ashen outduels Asfi. Another lined up with a Nitro Cell to boot, the Buck of Hoven and Hot Pursuit. Playing off of a small opening, but looks the wrong way. Oh, no! Flashes himself, James.
Oh. The youngest player in the tournament has turned up for SSG. Wow. It has been equalized, however. Bleed have plenty of time to make this work, and J9O's really low HP.
Yeah.
I wonder how many drones will be able to get in position for Bleed's dead teammates to watch and enable some form of execute.
It's one of my favorite rounds. A 2v2 where you go, who's actually in the favorable position? Because defenders, they got side control, sure enough, but it's going to be a low health Warden and a Jaeger up against Line with a scan left and Tursta on the ace. It's really anyone's round here. It comes down to who plays better together in the 2v2 to either isolate a member or get that trade going when they get into a fight.
J9O being on low HP is not ideal, but just needs to stay safe for the time being. Forrest is yet to find a kill so far, which is not what you saw previously. He's in this rat angle, prone by the A-bomb site. Turdsta opening things up with those Selmas to go, but time not on his side. I don't know if Forrest got droned out, but either way, Mentalist will lose that tool. He now came by. The drone not seeing Forrest, but Turdsta does. A quick jump in, and now the diffuser will need to go down with J9O watching. He cannot get an angle on this with no intel, and he'll be shot to the right side. He gets away with it. Poor coverage from Mentalist, who hasn't moved from his spot. Does he need to, though? Because he could have a lineup now if J9O peeks the wrong way, and right as he wanders into Mentalist's sight, what?
Doesn't know.
Mentalist has not seen this. J9O to go around. There he goes. Position should be given away at this point. Ring around the Rosie with now Mentalist playing tight to the soft wall. The top of J9O's head might be visible, falling off, wasting time as much as possible to go back on. Mentalist will need to commit at this point, or else J9O can get it.
Oh, no.
Mentalist can't see the head. No! Shoot away! Blunder blunders from both of them, but Spacestation wins the round.
Massive blunder indeed. I mean, the thing is, when you're tucked behind the cabinet there, you can just go for the defuse. And Mentalist, he had the roads inside a bakery. He went outside the window thinking that they were going to play for the kill, but no, it's about the defuse in that scenario. That should not be happening. And the most experienced player from the roster of Bleed, he blunders the 1v1.
I mean, in terms of timing, I think Mentalist played that perfectly. He baited it on out and then he fell back. But on the re-peak, he didn't realize that it would not be an easy angle. There might have been a way he could have gotten that shot off, but as we could see, it was a lot harder than it seemed initially from that plant position. And I don't know about you, Nick, but that to me, it comes down to, I don't know what, like how do you expect a player to know about that specific angle? Is it just experience?
I was gonna say it's experience, but also pre-planning. There are two types of players in a clutch situation. They're the ones who act off instinct. I would say Asher might be that kind of guy, right? Who he sees something, he goes for it. And then there are players who pre-plan like a chess game, every single variable move where they do this, I respond with this response as well. And I just feel like Mentalist didn't have a clear answer. He was tucked in the corner, holding a very passive angle, and thinking, oh, I'm smart, I'm playing the clock here, and that's a really good way to go about it. But then when the push came to shove, he was just didn't have the answer, right? Rotating baker, we see it, it's wide open up, and I think if you walked up the red staircase and opened up the soft wall with the DMR, he might have had an angle, but that didn't click for him.
Damn, Mentalist is going to be kicking himself after that one. That is not a happy facial expression. Thing is, when you're in the heat of the moment, when you're in the middle of a game, the worst thing you could possibly do, the last thing you should be thinking is, I just messed that up.
Yeah.
You have to dispel any thoughts, any doubts. You have to be cocky. You have to believe that you are the best player in the server every second of the way. As soon as that doubt starts to creep in, you start to manifest that and start playing how you believe.
Yeah. Same with your teammates, right? Like, if you lose that round, somebody, like, lets out a sigh or goes like, man, come on, that is not okay, right? You go, hey, man, nice try, we got this, don't worry about it. You know, we give them a free one. You joke about it, right? You don't want to put your teammate down, be like, you know what, man, that wasn't good enough. That's the last thing you're going to do. And I don't think Bleed, they have a bad environment. I think on the opposite side, I think they're quite good friends here, and they can make this play going forward. So, you know what? We gave them a free round. It's 2-2 tied up. We win some, we lose some.
And the last thing Bleed should be worrying about now is this half, because as we've said, it should be a 4-2 split for defense, statistically speaking. And Bleed have already got there too. So yeah, that was one that goes begging. Yeah, it should have been a Bleed round for sure, but that should just give them confidence to find one of the next two.
Oh, you're right. We're gonna start the roam clear. This very methodical, old school clear. Go top and clear it all the way down. And the big question comes later on. Do they go for a half clear, where you take piano and you take cigar and you walk down staircase? Or do you go for the full clear, where you take full top floor control and rain that vertical damage towards the bomb site? Well, they got Thatcher and Ace, as well as a Sledge, all with soft breaching charges, or the Sledgehammer. So I think this will be a full clear top. Forestone goes out, gets the shield from J9O, and already weakening those strong positions up top.
Yeah, you can still play this position without a shield, especially when it's Wamai and he's got those regenerating discs to open up potential protection from any projectiles. Hot and Cold's been forced on back. He's the Echo, so you want to keep him alive in the late rounds. Looks like Reeves might actually start to push him from below on this lurking sledge.
Interesting. Lurking sledge, huh? Looking for grenades.
Dirt nades.
Oh, this is one right here. Oh my!
Oh!
Not droning out the Mira, not understanding that Forrest is down below. A hell of a way to get on the board first.
But why is he there?
I think Forrest must have dropped
I think so
the
too.
dining bomb site when he had the read. Credit to him.
Terps has been down now as well, by the way.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. He's finished off, so it's really fallen apart for Bleed. SSG have a very solid position off the back of just some tiny mistakes.
Yeah. Forrest the kind of player where he's like, if I don't know what I'm doing, then the opponent won't have any clue either, but here they go in, they're gonna try and break this bomb set apart.
And they're just slaughtering them now with the crossfires being so well for Bleed. Making an ungodly racket as they've taken control of the train section, but this is a reading bomb site, not mining, which was defended all the way back in round number 3. So you've been able to take a portion of it. That bomb site's like a big L, basically.
Okay. Well, it looks to be a potential L here as Hovens found an early pick, and Mentalist looks like he may be able to stick this. Hoven peeking through for a second, goes prone, wants to back on out to a safer position. Asfi takes down Ashen. And just 2 players left for SSG. Look for a retake. Not going to be easy. Faults 2 gas canisters still in pocket. Not used to deny plant, but potentially used to cover some form of retake. creative usage here, but I think there's still a solid position. Asfi to find the double. 2v5, baby.
I mean,
this ain't even in the top 50% of hardened games we've ever fucking played. Literally, you're diff by Fury! You're diff by Fury, guys!
Now, I've watched a lot of Bleed matches. I will say this level of trash talk, as vocal as that was, seems a little bit out of character. But I mean, you got to match fire.
This is not out of character for Bleed. I tell you what. Coming from the APAC region,
I was trying to be polite.
Coming from the APAC region, I'm very surprised at how wholesome Bleed have been this matchup.
Oh, yeah.
They love the trash talk. I would say more than almost any other team I know in the APAC region, especially at the upper echelons. They absolutely froth it, and Asfi in particular has really shown up, but he's backing it up with the stats as well.
Yep.
Here it is. I mean, I'd be talking some smack after that as well.
yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I think, you know, you kind of said earlier, they started off saying, you guys are better than us, you know, you guys are so good, etc. Today it was like, it's not about being nice anymore, right? It's a Madoff saying that you guys are bad, we don't care. And then the Smack talked it back up as well, and they get the third attacking round. Statistically, a great half.
It's like, if you're calling us bad, then what does that make you?
Yeah.
And also, on top of all of that, Bleed get clutched on, right? J9O, amazing clutch with the Ninja Diffuse down in Kitchen. Then the SSG take their tactical timeout to let that sit on Bleed for a moment, let them argue. But they're not arguing, they're busy moving on to the next round. They've just countered SSG's tactical timeout by winning the following round, and they've exceeded par for the course on their attack of Kafe.
It's a phenomenal round for them. And I mean, let's say J9O didn't get the clutch right, all of a sudden it would be a 4-1. Small things, of course, swing the numbers here. But as you see, they changed things up. They've been playing this passive utility game now. Asami, Jaeger, Solus, Ward, and Doc. They want to fight and be in their face.
I will say, we have watched certain matches between teams not ever really have the diffuser be a focal point. It's not been the case with Bleed so far, as they've been able to plant it successfully 3 times through just Kafe. They were also successful on Border, so strategically, they can follow up all of the killing that they're capable of doing. In this round, they're down Reaps, who died early on.
Let's cause some chaos.
SSG with an advantage yet again. SSG has either gotten the first pick or traded in every single round so far of this first half, and yet they don't currently lead.
I was gonna say they can play from behind, but this might be too big of an ask, honestly, with Hoven falling as well afterwards. Now you got usual operators left, right? You got Force and an Ace, and Turster on the Ash to pick up the pieces, but it's just T. They got the Doc. If you do some damage, they're gonna heal right back up. They got Q barriers all over Piano. It's a hard one to pick apart.
I'm surprised that it took SSG this long to go back to Bar Cocktail. They won it in the opening defense, and they're looking extremely competent here as well with this Azami setup. Bleed, the lack of Hibana, struggling to clear out those positions. I believe they have now lapped up a little bit of map control in that western portion of the top floor, but Forest is still down below. And there's not a lot of movement here available for Bleed. So many good crossfires set up by the Americans. It's going to be very hard bomb site to crack.
Yeah, sitting back, waiting with the crossfires like I mentioned. It's just saying, no, we don't gotta move. Again, classic SSG gameplay. That station when you're Bleed, you don't have those key operators, no Nomad, no Sledge, and good luck, have fun.
It's a really good core strike there from the Solus. I don't know if you saw the way that they were planking, but the fight being brought right now to Bleed as Forrest from down below will swing on to Mentalist. Now Turdsta's next in line of sight. No damage so far has been done to this SSG squad at all. Fultz on the dock means that you've got the stim pistols to bring you back up, but he hasn't even needed to use any of them.
Man, what a waste.
10 seconds remaining.
10 seconds remaining is all you need to hear to know that Asfi is sitting outside.
5 seconds left.
I mean, SSG doesn't need to move.
Jump out, please, one kill.
First half, breaking down dead even, 3-3.
It's funny, when Bleed, they're in that, if that was Bleed in the 5v1, they'll be jumping out windows, getting that last kill. And it's still like, no, we're gonna hit you with the discipline. We're not gonna move at all. You know what? We're just gonna bleed you out slowly.
A little bit of trash talk as well in the chat there from Hoven, trying to goad SSG into making those jumps out the windows. But at the end of the day, they will not sacrifice their flawless round to close out the first half. This really has been quite a tug of war And as we move into the second half, yes, in theory, Bleed statistically have the advantage, this being a defender-sided map. But I would not at all be surprised if SSG can have a reprise in the second half.
Yeah, and you guys can't see it, but now you can. Monty and Blitz being shown. I mean, again, surely not, right? Top floor attack. There is one attack that could like kind of the skylight drop. Smoke, flash, skylight drop, plant, post plant upstairs. Yep. That's a strat.
You know what I call that? That's the 4-4 ranked strat.
No, that is the 4-4 ranked strat. But you'd normally want a Ying or a Capital for that to work. And again, double shield and Kafe, not the, the usual style to go for. And they're gonna change everything around here. No shields at all. Gridlock and Nomad instead. Thinking for J9O. They're not gonna be fun about this round. They'll kind of slow things down and be more cool about it, I guess.
Well, for SSG, these top floor defenses relied on the Azami and Bleed not being able to clear it. SSG, they don't bring the double shields, and to be honest, they don't actually bring as much util as I would personally like to clear all of these Kiba barriers. There is a Jaeger on the board for the defense, which will make those grenades a little bit less effective, but you've got 3 sets of grenades and a set of flashes, so it is very achievable here if SSG are very disciplined with their utility.
What I want to see actually in this round is that instead of Nomad, you take Grim, you go on cocktail window, you beat top floor, you go into library with 6 grenades, you see the beat, run. Brazil does that with Capital actually, and with grenades. Not 6 grenades, but
We saw a little bit of it on border, right? SSG with that double grenade, found a player in CCTV.
Exactly.
Why not here on Kafe?
I want to see it, and they are making their approach downstairs. Hot and Cold and Nook can sneak in, evade those cameras. But again, for Space Station, they want to approach the bomb side very slowly and ensure that all 5 members are alive until they do their job. Bolts, Hard Breach, other people, the flashbangs and the grenades. Once they've spent those pieces of utility, then they can start getting aggressive on the gunplay.
Well, you've already done your job of getting upstairs. The hard part becomes getting into that building, and look at this. Hot and Cold as a worm, wriggling through the tiny opening towards pillars. Asfi is the player in Cocktail closest to heaven. As a drone gets set up by SSG, and Hot and Cold will have patience. Buddhist monk at this point.
He might have patience, but what is Wormboy looking to do down here?
That's correct. And also the shaved head of a Buddhist.
Carter's not here. Come on, guys.
That's a deep reference. People won't understand that we call Carter Wormboy, which has now been said on a broadcast. I'm very upset about that. But
Wormboy down!
You can be all the cloaked in the world, and Reaps will still see you with his own set of eyes. First pick goes for Bleed in the second half.
And that's kind of like SG's like quote-unquote secret weapon or not so secret weapon, where it's gonna be Hot and Cold and Nick flanking, doing stuff, but the grenade is still up there. You got 2 other sets and one that's a bunch of damage onto Asfi instead on Cocktail, but look at that. The dock value instantaneously gets him back to full HP, but Foltz also finds Hoban shortly after.
I've seen a lot of dock play between these teams, particularly Space Station, and not sure if I've ever seen the value be as high as it is in this particular round. Now with only 30 seconds remaining, the next step for Space Station, get in, start cleaning up some of these kills. Reaps a second on to Forest. Foltz will jostle with the dock, swung on. It's a perfect trade, but Bleed still with the man advantage. Action to swing in, upside down. Will need to retrieve the case as Asfi is the cross upstairs, top of whites. Ashen needs to survive past this point, but Asfi is the close angle. If you lose the case here, J9O will not be able to recover, and there it is. Now to engage in a 1v2 as time runs out. J9O punching air as Bleed wins their first defense.
Come on! Fight! What are you doing?
I wonder if Asfi comms as much as he does to the other team.
Yeah, I was gonna say. He's saving all the calling out for the opponents when they win rounds.
Jokes aside, you look at that little chuckle from Mentalist, and you think back, what was it, just 3 rounds ago that he failed that, in theory, easy 1 versus 1 clutch. And the expression on his face back then, yeah, Asfi's talking a lot of smack, but it really is helping. If you can get a laugh out of the players on your team that would otherwise be beating themselves up, you're doing your job.
Oh, you are. And that's, again, a healthy team environment can take you very far. It's been a long tournament if you're Bleed. It's been a long tournament if you're SSG, right? You've been going through a lot of different series, a lot of different matchups, a lot of, close games where 1 round could have made the difference, but they're still here. And in some ways, it's a shame that only one of them can actually advance to the quarterfinals, the playoffs of Phase 3. but that's life.
One thing that I really do wonder with Bleed is how much has their early victories giving them real confidence? Because we see a lot of these young teams from minor regions come to events with a lot of confidence, and then a loss or two, it's like, oh, we're not even used to playing this video game. Like, this is a different video game to what we play back home in our APAC scrims. Bleed are a notoriously confident and even cocky team, but you come to an event and you have one upset in a BO1 here, one there, and you're like, no, literally we think we could compete in NAL now.
We might do this, yeah.
And that kind of confidence, I think, completely turns a new leaf for these players going up against a roster like SSG.
Oh, good value being found by Forest, finding 2 Goyo canisters rather, and that's gonna kind of set SG up for the late round now. If they can get there, they won't have to be stalled out for 20 seconds per canister, so they buy themselves a bit of time. But the eyes are upon the top floor right now. The roam clear has to begin shortly. Last time we saw Hot and Cold Mentalist. Last time we saw Hot and Cold go downstairs looking for a flank, but I think they're gonna play closer together. But look at that, he's got a spare in pocket. That's annoying.
Those things are a dime a dozen.
Oh, yeah.
Fire for them lasts so long.
It does. 20 seconds.
You never realize how long 20 seconds is until you find yourself with 25 seconds to go and a Goyo canister gets popped. You think to yourself, mother of God, this is not going to go out well. J90 first casualty on the Ash, punished by Mentalist, the Goyo. Not exactly playing the safest game, but I mean, we've seen Goyos play off-site and take those engagements early.
He is a big clutch player, J90, so definitely if I'm Bleed, I want to take him down early. SSG seem to have a little bit of a gap in their information here. However, Asfi's gone down. He won't be lippy for the rest of this round, except for giving call-outs.
Misdroned.
Yeah, the drone was just far too early. It went around the wrong side. However, good trade. Does make this doable for SSG.
It's a very good trade. I mean, again, those even numbers, and again, Hot and Cold applying pressure, still got grenades in pocket as well, got those adrenal surges going, but there's so much time to work with. And without information from Bleed, no Valkyrie available, it's banned out, very few default cameras. They gotta be guessing, but they guess correctly.
That's why you keep shadows on, by the way, folks, because you can see that shadow well before it comes onto that freezer wall.
It's true, settings do matter. You can only see dynamic player shadows if you're on medium or higher in the graphical setting. And some pros here got exposed in the content piece because they go, shadows on low, more FPS, whatever. Yeah, you can't see shadows, my guy, come on.
Oh, there's another, as these vectors are so powerful in the hands of Bleed. Uncold in a 1v2 with 35 seconds remaining. He had it ping for a moment and now knows the Tracer's over towards white, but only one. Where is Turdsta? There you go, inside a reading. Some education for Hot and Cold. It's 2 in a row. Bleed's lead grows. They're up 5-3.
I gotta say, like, Bleed's Kafe so far has impressed me because often what we see from, I want to say, just APAC as a whole.
What are you doing?
Oh, wow. You guys can't see this, but on our second monitor, in the all chat, Hoven hits SSG with, what were you guys trying to do?
That's a great
question. At what point do the admins step in here? Like,
no, let it go, let it go.
I mean, I'm chill with it, but there is a rule, right? Like, I don't know, in the Blast system, we had a new rule book. I don't know where the line is drawn.
Don't be boring, James. Don't be boring. SSG, they can just mute them, okay? Big boys can mute them. They're not responding back, though, right? They don't want to feel like they're faced by it, because the thing is, if you start answering back, you know you're kind of bothered by it.
For sure. You want to let your gameplay do the talking. As soon as you engage, Bleed know that they've gotten to you.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, if you look at the round from top down, it didn't seem like SSG didn't know what they were doing. They just lost a couple of gunfights and they Bleed were the better team in that round. So it's not even like it's true trash talk. It's just simply Ash trying to get in their head and be like, guys, what are you doing, right? How are you losing those rounds? You're like, where is the strategy at, you know?
Well, in terms of strategy, we've just moved down to the basement, or the ground floor bomb site. What were you going to say, Parks?
I was going to say, I like when teams are able to match the trash talk. It's for us as 3 English speakers. Nick, obviously you speak Danish, but there's not a lot of Danish players that are probably speaking in Danish.
You could probably do a round in Danish. I was asked to do a round in Aussie.
I mean, Parker flames me when I mispronounce things because of my Danish accent, so I feel like I'll just lose my job.
He says scarce.
Yeah, I say scars instead of scares.
Which sounds like you're just saying the team name incorrectly.
Yeah, but you're American, Parker, so you say everything incorrectly.
I mean, I can't even make fun of you because if you were from New Zealand, I'd just say you're Australian. And that would be the ultimate insult to them.
Well, it's been an insulting start to this round. as back and forth the trades have gone. Hoppen somehow finally taken down.
Got him.
So eventually the trade has been made.
A bit of a messy one. A jump out that gets down forced, but then he died, vaulting that final ladder. He almost escaped, but almost is not really of much value because he didn't. But a very slow round from SSG, very methodical right now, and could be a run. Oh, the read. He was there before the door was open, by the way.
Yeah, good bait. I think SSG are getting a little bit of a read onto the aggression from Bleed. 4v4, totally unnecessary to make these kinds of plays, but it's what gives Bleed their brand and also what gives Bleed their fear.
Well, they've got the tools to ride out the remainder of this round. You got one magnet still in pocket, another will be available in just a moment. Turnsta's got 3 Kiba barriers to plug any soft destruction or hard destruction that's brought by Space Station. This particular case, it's just soft destruction, as the Buck was the only one with a hard breach gadget. Forrest, of course, died first.
Oh, is Hatch Rio'd?
As well. On the Solus, can just wait for a post plant and or even a plant to begin and play off of that. Turds does use 2 of those Kiba barriers posted up at the moment on Freezer as the Boogie drone from the Ram goes to work.
I love the Boogie drone, yeah. The destruction! It's so efficient, it's so quick. When you lose the Buck, but you have Ram and Sledge, Buck doesn't matter.
Well, the downside is that despite having all this vertical game, it's still not possible to flush out Turd from that Kafe position, and he's going to be able to play it for much longer because of the Kiba barriers. Nades will be required to flush him out, but that one is chewed up by the Wamai's Magnet. A second one tempted to go through. SSG know about it, but time is of the essence.
No, absolutely, and Honcold will have to go for a drop where Turdsta is looking, and there he goes to hit the deck. Turdsta flashed out, missing it. Grenade primed and ready. It goes, Ashen drops. Turdsta's down for the count. It's a sprint on in as Houghton goes for the plant. You're going to need to watch this one quite intently.
5 seconds remaining.
Both players from Bleed to retake through the Whiskey Door. Fultz will watch over as Houghton likely gets out of position. They're all Spawn Mentalist drops down, and now it's Reaps to save the round. It could be match point for Bleed if they prevail, but this is a really tough gambit to get back into the kitchen. 2 players looking, and Reaps gets one of them. A second fight, his for the taking inside a freezer. Missing out, but a shotgun to reduce Houghton to low HP, but not enough. Space Station withstands the aggression and wins the round.
It's the wrong shotgun. Simple as. Any other shotgun, I think, he might have had that clutch, but he didn't have the right one. And Space Station with great cover and believing in one another. Fultz with the cover and the flick as well, secured the 2v1, and they played that post plan beautifully.
It really is a testament to Space Station that that round was as close as it was. We were talking about it, 20, 25 seconds left on the clock, and still Turdsta is in this power position, holding on to that ultimate plant spot inside Kafe with Kiba barriers. Hot and Cold knew he wasn't going to nade him through the vert, so he waited to drop. He got safe. He waited for stuns to come through, and then he naded not the Kiba barrier, but above it, so it would kill Turdsta. And without a second's thought, he sprints across and goes into the plant spot with the trust of his team to cover. And despite all of that effort from SSG, Reaps made it damn close.
Oh, he did. Oh my god. Yeah, no, it's way too close to comfort for sure, but they earned that round. They fight all the way through from the beginning to the end. Vertical play, I like that you pointed out, it was there, but it didn't actually impact the round whatsoever. Not a single kill happened from above. The post plant is not enabled either from that post plant position, so sometimes you think you need to do something, like destroy the floor, but sometimes it doesn't matter at all.
I just noticed another early round E1D from SSG. We saw that on Border once. I can't tell whether it's to scare the life out of Bleed or whether it actually is to slow down setup, especially on a bomb site where you're running like a castle mute strat. Setup does often take a while, but we do have not just that line, but the blitz as well.
Yep, Forest Blitz. That's a lovely thing to see. Now, it can go one of 2 ways. Either he gets 3 kills and wins the round, or he dies in the first 20 seconds if they execute and it won't go anywhere. It's very one or the other with Forest.
It took Forrest a while to get on the board, and I mean, what is he? He's the record in NA for most kills in a single game, is that correct?
You're looking at the wrong guy.
Yeah, I'm not
If I remember correctly, as well, of course you're not Jesse. He has more hair than you.
Oh, come on.
That's rough. Here's a good C4. It doesn't actually land anything at all, so I'm not sure whether the lineup was wrong or SSG were quick. Here comes the blitz. Asfi's gone down. That said, he was able to take one with him, and Bleed have held on to this numbers advantage. Bomb site downstairs in reading. This is such a pivotal moment. Bleed have an advantage, and if SSG fumble this round, match point will be available for the SEA team.
Yep. And the thing is, Blitz is great for the upstairs clear, but the side execute might not be as strong because now the crossfires are there, a lot of self-destructible walls, a lot of like foot shooting through those like low angles as well. So Forrest's job is basically much done here. He's probably gonna be the one planting or maybe enabling his teammates. So it's down to Fulls and Ashen to work together and try and find some picks here, try and find some kills.
It's one of those proximity alarms on the stairs leading up from the first floor on Brown stairs. So if somebody decides to push from that angle, they'll be heard, but I don't think that's the intention at the moment, as the last couple drones used by Space Station get shot away at. Forrest, the blitz, completely removed from action as Ashen and Fulls trying to sprint over to Reading, but they can't even get through it before tackling that mining bomb site. Now it's Fultz with diffuser in hand. 3 sets of eyes, all looking in his direction. There's a 4th set as well, just in case more is needed from Bleed. But they've chased Fultz down White Stairs. There's no way for him to be able to get out of this other than just a fist fight. Not a lot of time left. They can line up, but they swarm him in the end.
Let's fucking go! Guys, Sai is fucking mining!
Bleed on that point.
Sorry, Side is mining.
Side is mining.
Mining or no?
They eventually got to Reading, but the round was basically over and it wasn't even Reading. Bleed are having a laugh about that one. As you said, Parks, map points for Bleed. It is their map pick, and if they are to win this round, then we're actually toe-to-toe, not only in map count, but also round count, as Space Station were able to win 7-4 on Border. Bleed could well do the same thing here on Kafe.
Oh, they're close. They got all the bombs to play between here because they can play all 4, so even if they're to lose a round or 2 here, plenty of options to go. Top floor is their choice, though. And we saw SSG do pretty good up here with those cube barriers, with the dog as well. Kind of similar setup here from Bleed. And it's such a strong setup. The key barriers with piano, dog friendly chip damage, nades downstairs, etc. And again, there's no easy solution here if you're SSG. You ban the banner yourself.
Yeah.
So you're forcing the floors probably.
There hasn't been a single attack round 1 onto this bar cocktail in this game so far. Of the 3 times it's been played, SSG won it in the first and last rounds of their half. Bleed opened up their half with a win on it as well. But they were confident enough to go to mining last round, and you can see they were very happy about that. Wow, bit of damage onto Forrest. Here comes the E1D once again right at the start of the round. Not a lot of value out of that, to be honest, and I think it's clear that Bleed are not mentally affected by that play.
Oh no, they don't care. And I love the fact that you're on match point. They keep line scanning early, you still go for that spawn peek. And look how much time it's buying. Forrest is pre-firing a window, trying to get to the building for a rappel up towards the roof. It buys you 10, 20, 25 seconds maybe because they're so far behind.
Well, I've got to say, I mean, we've been treated to 2 incredibly exciting matches so far. I know, James, that you've obviously got a vested interest in
What do you
this
mean?
match.
Well, no, seriously, what do you mean by that? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, of course.
I've casted SSG a lot of times this tournament.
That's not what
And I love SSG. Cap aside, I have developed quite an affection for SSG over their course this tournament. They have a real story that I am getting behind.
That's like when the kid with cake on his mouth gets spotted and they're like, no, I hate cake. Who would eat all the cake? That would never be me. I would never do that.
That's not me. I love cake.
Yeah, well, and you love SSG too, so what's to believe? Oh.
Keep it deployed.
I will say, Consulate will be an exciting 3rd map, providing we get to that point. Space Station could still very easily turn this one around, and with the amount of teams that have been on the precipice of winning their map only to choke it in the final round or 2, it actually would be more likely, I feel like Space Station could close this match up. Maybe not outright. They've got a minute and a half to play with to try and draw even with Bleed and push us to overtime. If not, Consulate awaits us just under a minute.
Whenever you're on match point and you're a new team like Bleed that they are, you know, risk assessment. Are you going to go for these plays now? If you see them, are you going to take that risk? Because if you lose it, all of a sudden it's they're making that comeback possible. They got the intel on the attacking side. They're going to act upon it.
Oh, wow. Good C4. Hot and Cold does find Reeps and immediately goes for an 8 on the back of the E1D, but cleverly, Asphy has relocated. J90 finds the opening pick as well. Doubling down for SSG. Asphy looking to get aggressive. His position revealed, but he will not stop walking on forward. SSG seemingly ready for it as Hot and Cold once again steals away a pick. Forrest makes it a 5v1. Hoven with it all to do. A single pick is all he finds. And SSG only need a single round to push into overtime.
Oh yeah, they're so close. And again, I kind of said risk assessment, right? That was probably the most passive round from Bleed so far. Sure. 1 second.
I'll catch freebies every time, okay?
Freebies, baby. Give me a drone, I'll catch freebies.
Besides the C4 itself, Bleed were relatively far back in corners, kind of waiting and not really, shutting down the entry points. They started the offense, going for that spawn peak, and then they're like, okay, guys, let's just sit tight, wait for something to happen. But the issue is, SSGs, they capitalized perfectly upon that information. They had 2 yellow pings, got them 2 kills, and it just snowballed from there.
I think if Bleed are going to go for an attack, or a defense rather, like that, where they're playing so passive, I think they need to lean on the Solus a little bit more to try and get information, especially with how much Hot and Cold is playing Knock, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
You're going to see that Knock through walls. You know that you're getting a Lion. When he activates his gadget, you actually get wall hacks on him for a few seconds as well with Solus. So Ashen, who came in here, would have been spotted. In fact, if that was a Solus, he would have seen both of the players who pushed in on him. Now, believe it or not, Mentos was the Solus. I'm not sure whether he wasn't using his gadget or wasn't in position to support, but some very minute details could be turning these rounds on their head for Bleed. However, SSG, I think they've got a good read. The question is, in the final round of the half, can they do what Bleed did in the first and win 3 attacks on such a defender-sided map?
Yeah, I mean, they're changing things up. They got Twitch, Gridlock, they got the Capital as well, so a bit of utility being brought. They were hovering the multi-blitz in the very first round. Forrest did play blitz a single round, which did not work out. So I like this kind of utility-oriented style. Again, intel, so vital. Nuke jammers from Reeps can, of course, sway that, but the thing is, Kafe is a very open map. Those jammers are mostly meant for the walls, not for drone deny. So those drones should be getting intel. There it is, Ashen. He sees Lobby. It's open area, sees the bulletproof. Doesn't get with the first shot, but hopefully with a bit of time, he can get it. I believe he did. And the default cam to go as well. Yep, it's gone.
There's another default cam he hasn't yet taken down. I'm not sure if there's a specific reason for that. But the high-value targets will also be these Vulcan canisters, which we saw him disable in one of the previous rounds. Mentalist still has one in pocket to potentially replace in the late round, but Bleed have quite a heavy investment on this top floor. As I say that, an aggressive peek from Terza takes down Ashen downstairs on the balcony. He's still alive, despite the fire coming in from Capital.
That's a nade.
But it's not necessarily cooked well enough. He gets away from it, and instead, they're all climbing in. SSG going for a rush, and Mentalist putting in work.
Damn.
SSG not working out so well now for you, is it? J90 to 1v3, and Hoven and Asphy joining with the GH.
Jesus.
Oh my, I'm not gonna touch that last one. If you know, you know. If you don't look at it. That's all I ask, desperately. Explosions aplenty on the stairs, and J90 knows what comes next. They'll clown on him on white stairs, Hoven with the last kill. We're going to a 3rd map between these 2 titans.
Well deserved, right? Bleed deserved that first map, as do SSG, and Consulate is gonna be exciting.
It certainly will. These 2 teams, the matchup between them to stave off elimination, to make it to the main stage for the first time in what feels like forever for SSG, and the first time ever for Bleed. It's everything these players have ever hoped for, and it will be determined on Consulate.
Hi, I'm Joshua Mills, and this is Siege Intels. Grenades. You love them, I love them, but why are they so heavily restricted on operators' loadouts? Their power, as well as the ability to cook them, have progressively made this secondary gadget the reason to choose an operator. In an effort to curb this powerhouse of utility and destruction, we have slowly over time removed grenades from our operator loadouts. We don't like that. If there's a tool in the game, you should have access to it. We are currently reworking their system to bring them in line with the other secondary gadgets in the game. Now connect to the reveal panel to see what this change entails.
I had to sacrifice a lot in my life to be where I am right now.
Everyone shares the same ideology or mindset.
G2 is the best team in the world, period.
The mentality when we just like focus our minds to win is just maybe the most important thing.
What's most important is the journey that we go on, and we go on that together.
The feeling of belonging is extremely important. I do think that I feel that the most.
Having the crowd is really, really amazing. When you do this and the crowd is like screaming because you just like put your hands up.
You always have the crowd on your side because like we're the biggest team in the world.
When you experience the adrenaline to play in tournaments, to win tournaments, you can't live without that anymore.
I'm a guy who likes video games. But other than that, I don't have that much to define myself. I'm trying to find that. That's my next step in life. Find myself.
Salve rapaziada, aqui é o Herds da W7M. Eu tô aqui para mostrar para vocês as minhas configs dentro do game. Começando aqui no geral aqui, rapaziada, a única coisa que eu mudo é o drone depois da preparação, que eu deixo no manual. Isso é bom porque quando você precisar olhar um drone pro teu companheiro ou algo do tipo, vai estar bem fácil ali, é só você continuar olhando, não precisa apertar um botão que pode dar algum timezinho. Então é bem tranquilo. Aqui no HUD eu uso quase tudo no normal, mas a única coisa que eu mudo aqui é a bússola, que eu não uso. Eu gosto de deixar a tela um pouquinho mais clean. E a única coisa que eu não uso aqui também é a vida. Eu gosto de não usar a vida porque aí você não vê quando você está com pouca vida e isso influencia na sua tomada de decisão dentro do jogo. Então é muito melhor pra mim, isso é mais pessoal, não ter a vida, sabe? Acho que deixa o psicológico mais preparado. Aqui no áudio, o volume vai depender do seu fone, mas aqui a música eu deixo no off. O diálogo eu deixo um pouquinho, acho que às vezes é bom ouvir assim, tipo... Não sei, mano, tipo, geralmente ninguém usa, mas eu uso aqui um pouquinho de diálogo. E o modo de som é o Night Mode aqui, porque é muito melhor para você escutar passos e coisas que são mais importantes dentro do jogo, que, por exemplo, o barulho de tiro ou outras coisas. Aqui no display, obviamente você vai usar o maior hertz aí que seu monitor puder. A proporção 4x3 e o FOV 84. O resto aqui não mudo nada, eu uso o padrão. Gráficos, aqui também tipo, é algo mais pessoal, eu particularmente uso tudo no low. Nas partidas, às vezes eu coloco um pouco de shadow, eu coloco aqui o contraste no médio. Bom, aqui na Sense também é algo mais pessoal, mas o meu aqui eu uso 12-12 de vertical horizontal. Então é 21, 41, 42, 42. Basicamente você só vai usar aqui as três primeiras, que é o 1x, 1,5 e 2x. Então é 21, 41, 42. De resto aqui também eu uso no padrão aqui, claro, tem seus controles ali, tipo, acho que o que eu mais uso de diferente aqui é que eu agacho no espaço. Geralmente o pessoal que vem de console aí costuma usar os botões mais diferentes. E na acessibilidade aqui eu uso a minha cor de mira verde com 100% de opacidade e o tremor de tela aqui que eu deixo no off, que é muito melhor quando cair uma granada ou estourar uma breach do teu lado, tua tela não vai tremer. Salve rapaziada, esse foi aqui um videozinho mostrando as minhas configs. Obrigado por assistir, acompanhem o Major e tamo junto.
Bleed wins map 2 Kafe 7-5, beating SSG. Both teams battling. Both got a map. We're going to 3, baby. Who will be the last team standing? Who is going to the main stage? I've been saying it over and over again. The pressure is on, but Jesse, it was chaotic on that last map, and Bleed was loving it.
That was a fun Kafe. Sometimes we get Kafe and we watch it and it's like, oh, it's Kafe. It's so slow. We don't get a kill for 2 minutes every time. No, Bleed and Space Station, they were getting into it. And we really started to see these rounds go back and forth. I thought at the very beginning, you know, we saw Ashen really start to pop off. This moment, even in particular, the very first round, playing just in a tight spot. There's no real utility coming through to force him out. I often felt like this was happening where Bleed were kind of trying to swing in. They were trying to take these fights without maybe having those utilities to back them up, to start them off, to get them in a good position before they got into those gunfights. They were winning them a lot of the time. We saw 3-3 first half, but Space Station did have opportunities where they bounced back and were able to fight things. Really, it was, I think, a very competitive first half. It's just when we got to the attacking side for Space Station Gaming, that is where they fumbled.
Yeah, and I think that's where they met that aggression from Bleed, where they were just meeting them on all those forefronts. And then we also did talk about in those mid to late rounds, very chaotic from both teams, but we did say Bleed were thriving in that chaos, where you did see SSG look a little more discombobulated and a little bit confused of what was going on or where the next kill was going to come from, and Bleed really capitalized on that.
A quote that I think says it best: the crankers got cranked.
Well, you just saw that quote too.
You know what's been really fun about this matchup, though, is that I don't feel nerves. I feel like both these teams are just going 100%. We do got to talk about Ashen, though. His enthusiasm, I really do believe it's giving SSG a little bump for sure.
I mean, for being a young gun coming in, I mean, that's the best thing you can do. You don't want to be the quiet one in the room. You want to be the most loudest, the one that's going to set you apart from everyone else and just have you really stick out, and that's exactly what he's doing.
And he has the gunplay to back it up, though.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think, you know, again, he was playing those really tight spots up on defense, and sometimes he was like being thrown multiple bodies over and over again. Maybe there weren't the nades to back them up. Maybe there weren't the flashes to get in that initiatives. He was doing well. I did feel on the attack with the rest of Space Station, I'm not trying to single him out, things did slow down quite a bit. You know, we saw Space Station bringing out the blitz on Forest.
Yeah.
To me, that feels like when things are going wrong for Space Station, that's when we see the blitz. And when that came out, I kind of knew, okay, we're getting a little bit concerned now.
Well, I mean, then that goes to question going into Consulate, are we going to see Blitz coming out either in the early round, mid-round, or the late round?
How are we feeling about map 3 right now?
I'm excited. This
still
is
sticking with
this.
Bleed?
Yes, of course I'm still sticking with Bleed, but this is what you want from these teams when everything is left on the battlefield. You don't want anyone coming out here just going to this last map and giving up. I love a good, hard-fought win of who truly deserves to be on main stage.
Yeah, and as I mentioned before this game started, both these teams currently undefeated on Consulate. I believe it's 2 matches each. So obviously, brand new map. One of those streaks has to be broken. And you know, it's possible history could repeat itself, Jackie.
Okay,
back
more.
at the Copenhagen Major, 3 teams obviously went out 2-1. Those teams were Wolves, Virtus Pro, and Space Station. Today, the teams knocked out who will be finishing 2-1.
Stop it.
Wolves, Virtus Pro, Space Station?
Whoa, it sounds like you're questioning it.
Literally,
you were SSG. Are you flip-flopping?
Listen.
He's doing a flip-flop. He did this on the
The
internet.
history
We
has
talked
been
about
written.
this.
I mean, I'm seeing it in the Wikipedia scripts. At this point, who am I to argue?
I'm not gonna lie, that gave me chills though. That is wild. But you know what? We will have to see how it truly plays out. We want to get this one rolling. I'm gonna send it over to Intero and Pengu and Dev in a little bit. But first, okay, so you said you're locking it in. You're feeling very confident in Bleed.
I don't flip-flop.
Okay, so why though? Like, why are you sticking with them? I'm not gonna lie though, it's been super back and forth.
Well,
so.
one, I don't flip-flop because I'm not Jesse. That would be kind of uncandid like me if I started acting like Jesse. But 2, I mean, Bleed has shown more than enough to give me reason that they can push through and make it to main stage.
I said at the beginning it's going to come down to the momentum. It's going to really come down. I said the Space Station would win map 2 because they won map 1, and I thought they would carry that momentum through.
You thought.
I was wrong.
You thought.
I was wrong. And listen, the momentum has shifted. I'm hearing Bleed yell way more than we did in map number 1. I'm hearing them scream, telling them what the bomb site is.
The crankers got cranked.
The crankers got cranked. And so, I mean, we need a mental reset, right? This will be the final test of Callout's whole system. Is he able to reset these guys? Is he able to get them disciplined and back into the server to win this match right here?
This is what I'm curious. So I've been in situations like this before where players are yelling back and forth. It gets down to the last map, dead quiet. All nerves just focused.
Don't want
They're
that.
chatty right now, but we'll see what happens when they actually get in there.
We will.
All right, well, who is making it to the main stage? Intero, Pengu, and Dev, take it away.
Only a single map remains of Phase 2. And then we go to the main stage on Friday. We know that this is a best-of-1 shootout at this point. Each team won their respective map. You expect these results? So now we go to Consulate. Gentlemen, I will pose to both of you the same question.
Okay.
What the hell do we expect here?
This
I expect 50-50.
Exactly, 50-50. Like, I don't know what to expect. I mean, maps went the quote-unquote expected way, but they were both close. Nobody came out like, oh, this is a way better team over here, you know? It has been a back and forth, but Hoven, Bleed, already now in that alt chat, just getting things going, saying, let's get it, boys.
Yeah, very much a tight affair, and I think Jesse may be onto something when he identifies SSG are the only team that did not go out at this scoreline in Copenhagen that has not yet gone out here in Atlanta. Bleed have a tumultuous task ahead of them. They have a fairy tale to tell, but SSG have a hometown major to defend. The first ever main stage for Bleed, or the first in 2 years for Spacestation, lie on the line in this effective best-of-1 on Consulate.
And Bleed start on defense. I mean, this is exactly where you want to be. We can talk about stats, we can talk about preferences, but Consulate, you can just set things up. And SSG, they're banned the Monty, so attacks for them not gonna be all that simple. Sure, they can bring the Blitz, but on Consulate, there are so many long lines of sight, so many crossfires being stabbed, so much soft destruction ready with C4s. You don't tend to see a lot of Blitz on this map.
The big operator banned for me is the Solus. We have, yeah, there you go. Great minds, right?
Yep.
We have seen so much Solus in these last 2 maps. We've seen so much late round plant denial and early round playmaking. And I think that getting rid of that Solus has really left the door open for this to be a fresh map, be something completely different to what we've seen on Border, on Kafe. Consulate will be a new battlegrounds, and I don't know who's going to take it, man. It could, seriously, it could be Bleed making history. It could be SSG finally breaking free of the shackles that they have been restrained with for the last 2 years. It remains to be seen. Between 7 and 15 rounds from now, we will know.
I don't see any shackles in this operator pick phase right now for SSG. They're hovering the Sense, the Blitz, the Amaru, Lion as well. They're going to be flying in, setting the pace as match to come and saying, you know what, you might be defending, but we can control the pace if we want to. It's a good place to be. The thing is, if this rush does not work out, you are gifting Bleed their first round victory on the final map in the series.
It's a huge risk and reward style play, right? Like, if you bottle it on round number 1, there's the whole tempo potentially blown for you for the whole match. It could snowball out of control so easily for this team. Alternatively, you kind of need to bring the heat to Bleed. So I like this play, even if it doesn't necessarily work out. I like it on paper.
You either shatter your teammates, or rather your opponent's morale, or you give them a reason to get cocky and get confident.
C4 in hand, Turks, I'm not sure what that's about for the C4 for the window, perhaps. Yep, there it is. Lions Gang goes out. They don't have to punish yet, though.
Holden's already down, by the way. Oh, no, he missed the frost mat. Aspie collecting 2 hits. Forrest down. What is happening in this matchup? Suddenly it's J9-0 in a 1v3, but gets a freebie onto the frost. He was looking to retrieve Forrest. The only way out of this is to bring him back from the dead, and that's exactly what will happen.
Oh, Reeves is going for it.
He knows this. That flash doesn't work from such long range, but you cannot engage the Blitz. You gotta keep space between them.
Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser.
And Turdster waiting patiently for someone across his line of sight. SSG cannot afford to make an error here. Forrest, such low HP, a single bullet anywhere, a foot, a hand, and he will fall. But J9-0's clutch potential cannot be questioned. Reeps hunting for it, he finds the hand. And J9-0 called upon once again.
Attackers recovered the diffuser.
Diffuser back in pocket. An attempt to isolate 1 versus 1s, no information. Dead silence from his teammates as they spectate, as they wait for him to give a chance for his team. But the trade is thick and fast for Bleed. And they start this game with a round in their advantage.
Convincingly so as well. It's a 2v1, default cameras up. the second that they go for that flick onto the default camera, 3, 2, 1, swing together. I guarantee that 2 versus 1. There's no way they lose that, and they don't. So that risk that SSG took, that fast round, the quick pace action, well, it goes punished in this round. It was, almost want to say a good read for Bleed. C4 was prepped and ready, the crossfire was there, and it didn't seem like they were surprised by the blitz whatsoever. It was a really good round for them.
If there's any consolation for SSG, it wasn't a round that fell flat on its face. It was very redeemable. It ended up a 1 versus 1. And because of that, I don't think they'll be too rattled by losing the rush. If it had just been completely shut down, I'm loving it. I mean, it's not all shit talk. It's also just boosting each other up on your own team, right? Mentalist is just gassing up his teammates. They're having a laugh. To be frank, like when we saw that GH come through at the end of last map before the final kill had come through, I'm like, are we playing a rank game? This is the kind of thing you would expect at 2 a.m. on Southeast Asian servers in ranked.
That's why they're thriving so much, you know? This is comfortable territory for Bleed. They're used to this kind of action. SSG, they recognized that fast push was not the style I want to go with for going forward. So they changed into a more methodical style. The hard breach, the soft breach, etc. Some good guns, the twitch for intel gathering and intel deny, of course. You see that secret, that small staircase in the backside is guarded with a barbed wire and a player presence. So as is Visa, they get 1, almost get a second as well.
Well, Reaps will have to fall off before contending against Hot. Oh, never mind! He's got
that's a tough one.
Greater wherewithal than I would have thought. And now you've lost J90 and Houghton. The garage is breached open, but at what cost? Ultimately, two players on the other side of the map.
And to be honest, Consulate is one of the hardest maps to come back on the attack from a numbers deficit. Turd still looking for an aggressive peak as well. Just letting Spacestation know you can never walk around this map, inside or outside, without sweating that somebody from Bleed is looking for you. Now on the back of a Dokkaebi Logic Bomb, Ashen can start to move on inside. He needs to find a lot of isolated 1v1s here, and if Bleed are clever, they'll just hold crossfires to deny that.
That's a free kill. I mean, no crossfire needed as hiding. There's no drone, no intel, forest down as well. It's falls in a 1v5. This could be a flawless round.
Well, talk about setting the pace early on in the game. Bleed will hunt for it. It's in their DNA. They cannot help themselves.
What are you trying to do? Huh? Can't even open the wall.
They did open the wall, technically.
I don't think Reaps was on that side of the map. He was busy spawn peeking.
Exactly. But the Thermite did open it pretty early on. You know, Consulate, very big map. Oh, calm down.
Man,
quiet comms.
To be a fly on the wall in the SSG corner right now.
To be called out. That's what you want to be. You listen to every word they say.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that.
No, not even listen.
I love the listen-ins, I gotta say. And for those of you wondering why we will abruptly stop speaking, it's because we want to prioritize the words being said by the players. We can vamp and fill air as much as we want over the course of roughly like a 3-hour match, but there's only a couple windows into what the teams themselves are saying. And through much of this tournament, a lot of these teams don't speak English. So if you're one of the English-speaking listeners, or the only language you understand is English, you're not going to gain a lot from listening into, like, say, a Wolves FaZe match or something like that, because you're going to hear French and Portuguese. We are graced with 2 teams that speak English, so there's a lot to learn and a lot to hear whenever they start talking.
And a moment like that, when the oldest player in the server, Hot and Cold, the most experienced guy on SSG, he says, guys, calm down. Those are the little nuggets of gold that we're looking for.
Yeah. Immense of the team right now, and it's just like, I agree with them, because they're going kind of quickly and they're getting punished and caught off guard, and Consulate might be a big map, but it can be very hard to actually gain a foothold inside the building. Ashen's done that, but Hot and Cold already taking a ton of damage upstairs.
This is really pacey. You can see SSG are looking for any map control they can find. Doesn't matter if it's far from the bomb site. It's about getting their foot in the building, which proved to be a challenge last round. Here comes the blitz. Forest for 1. An attempt at a trade, but the Lions E1D shuts that on down.
That's a good pick.
Huge pick on the Reaps as well. That's likely, what, a C4 off the board?
Yeah.
C4 off the board, a great roamer off the board.
Reaps off the board.
Most importantly, yeah, I mean, we said this in the Wolves game. Mowgli off the board is a huge pick, irrespective of what operator he's on. In this particular case, you've still got 3 other offensive threats for Bleed, all of whom have shown up so far through this best of 3.
But look at this. SG, they go quickly in to get that kill. Now they're holding angles. Sure, Blitz Forest, he's making some moves here, but most players are just holding down angles, waiting for the moves first.
And Asfi is so quick, the mechanics here, but around the corner, another player, J90, caught with his pants around his ankles. In comes the Blitz and does eventually find Asfi, but a Guman in his foot will take him down low. Turds coming up the yellow stairs for a potential flank, but premature. This could be 1 bullet required. They know his position, and they will take him down. A 4v1 now. SSG have brought this round back, not just into the realm of possibility, but undeniability now. Mentalist will have to prove a point here to go flawless for the first 3 rounds of defense.
There's Mentalist searching for whatever he can find at this point. The Blitz being the biggest impediment to a round win, but also the vertical play from Ashen coming out in spades. Great round from Spacestation.
Adaptation, that's what it's all about. And the more experience you have, the more kinds of adaptations you can make. And as you mentioned, Dev, Hot and Cold, the most experienced player in that roster, the oldest player in that roster, saying, guys, calm down, back to basics, we know how to play, just do that simple thing, and we're gonna find some success here.
Speaking about Hot and Cold, this
he's
guy...
meditating right now.
Wow. This is his 12th...
That was a big breath.
Did you just hear the side?
Yeah.
I said he was like a Buddhist monk. I mean, he's got the head shaved. He's so calm. He's so peaceful.
Inner peace.
Well, he knows what to do when it comes to an event like this. This is his 12th international final between majors, 6 invitationals, and 3 Pro League finals. That's how old school this guy is. He played in 3 Pro League finals, and his career has lasted 7.5 years at a professional level. More experience than almost anyone in the game.
Goes way, way back. Forest, a really good blitz round, I gotta say, because usually when you play blitz, you have people behind you that, you know, the blitz's job is to activate them, to enable them to get the kills. Forest single-handedly, all alone, found 2 kills in that round and got intel on Mentalist in that 1 versus 5, so.
Was it one of you who said earlier, when you see Forest go on blitz, he's either good for 3 or he's good for nothing?
Yeah, that was I. And now, I mean, he ran in at first, I was like, yeah, he might be dead here, but no. Really well-timed flash to get the first kill with the ADS, and secondly there, just catching Legion off guard. The Guman, as you said, almost took him out, but he just stayed alive.
So we did have a very brief technical pause there, so players not allowed to talk strategy during that time. We're back into it, and we're going back to this top floor bomb site where Bleed kicked off the map. If you recall, SSG brought that kind of strange, kind of exciting, racy set of operators with the sends, the rush play, and it didn't work out. Bleed stemmed that very easily. They stalled it out. They took down the blitz. I think we're kind of at the point in the game, right, Nick, where the blitz is probably a misnomer from here on out. You're probably going to pass that by.
Yeah, it quite literally is like a one-off strat, if you will, where it's going to be good for a round, you make that work, and then maybe you'll bring it out on your very last attack round at the earliest again, or never again, you know? And the same thing when you go on defense, you can bring Clash for a round or 2, and it might work, but bring it every single round, the enemy will adapt around it, pick, you know, operators that counter that specific operator and nullify your entire presence.
Well, nothing is uncounterable. And one adaptation we have seen from Bleed in this round is the Tachanka. So a very uncommonly picked operator in this meta, recently receiving a buff, but only to his weapon, not his gadget. So that LMG is now 2-hit kill to the body on almost any operator. That is huge.
Yeah.
Of course, it still has a very low fire rate, but the fire itself, his gadget, could also be extremely handy for denying plant in the late round.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Bleed, they play this operator most often on this top of bomb site because you can bounce the fires off the wall and CEO towards the window of the plant position and deny that plant spot.
We saw Bleed play Consulate to start off against CAG.
Yep.
Very first map, very first day.
How'd that go?
And Bleed won. I mean, it was a pretty good match. They won 7-3 over CAG. However, there was not really a time where I saw the Molotovs being fired out from the Shamika launcher working out very effectively. Now, the plan for a lot of these teams on attack is to get into the cubby upstairs and plant by the window and maybe get out of there. you can bank those fire grenades from Tachanka to try and stop the plant, but I've never really saw Mentalists succeed. Now, it's a good gun. You're correct about that. But I'm very critical of the utility usage from Bleed, and I am hopeful that they're able to fix it, just so we can give them some praise.
Well, the substitution of a Goyo, late round time delay will never go astray when you slow down your opponent, but SSG have made decent timing here, in particular Hot and Cold in the perfect position to change this, turns to seize him, and now they will reaggress. Asfi takes him down, and that is one of the pivotal players from SSG taken out.
Yep, and Reeves had another one as well. It's just falling by the side here.
Smoke will go off. Preventing a push from admin, but there's multiple ways now that are harder to hold for the defenders. Widening Consulate was one of the big focuses of the devs, and they certainly added some space. Ashen is in, by the way. This adrenal surge is so big to get SSG back into this. Ashen, the hero so far. Oven and Mentalist now in a 2v2 against what remains of Space Station. Holding that diffuser. Ashen looking for kill number 7. Through 4 rounds, what an impressive tally. And he'll see the Tachanka long range, remove his head, and another as well, but he's beaten by Hoven. Forrest going for the case, shotgun out, he falls off, but for a second, back and forth they go. Hoven will need to push up, but the timer is on his side. Oh, there he goes! Forrest wins it at the last second!
Every millisecond matters in those moments. Point something left, I believe, in the round. Forrest said in chat, "You are my son." Hoven said, "Okay, something."
Can't we say that on broadcast?
He said, "Okay, daddy."
Yeah, everyone just wants to hear you say daddy.
I wasn't for it. He said, "Oh, he's a good boy." Oh, they're really role-playing this scenario right now. Damn. I will say Hoven takes it pretty well there. You know, that's one of those rounds where it's a mental warfare. Do you stick it? Do you get off the plan? Who's gonna make the first move? And the more experienced player in the scenario comes out on top.
Very much so. Ashen had a nuclear round for SSG. Without his sharp shots, it would not have been possible. I mean, he would have had to stick it into 2 seconds after the timer. And yet he reads it perfectly. Pre-fires Hoven. They're just in disbelief. He's going to kick himself about that one. If Bleed lose today, there are a lot of rounds that are going to keep these players up at night.
Yeah, there's been some close ones, that's for sure. It was 0.2 something by my count, watching that replay in slow motion, and that is very damn close. Tied up now, downstairs to basement, some utility being brought out, the mirror windows, the bandit batteries, the mute jammers, a lot of the different kinds of deny, but Ashen is ready for it. Picks up the Thatcher, 3 EMPs in pocket, can remove any of those kinds of utility on the map. And SSG, they did breach last round, and the round kind of fell apart. They got spawn peeked on the Visa side of the map. Lost so many members early on. A smoke goes south for ADS clear, EMPs follow suit, but they need a grenade over here. And bad thing is, they ain't got any.
No, they actually gave up very prematurely, did SSG. Probably the right decision, considering they didn't have many hard counters to the juggle from Asfi. Yeah, the question for me is how will SSG be when it comes to that roam clear? Because the prior round where Bleed picked Garage, it was just pick after pick on this roam. And so Hot and Cold says, well, you want to roam? I'll go Jackal.
Jackal could be pivotal here, but time... And this is why SSG they rotated so quickly. They're wasting a lot of time being like, okay, can we breach? Can we not breach? Yes, no? Okay, no, let's just go roam clear. But they waste like 30, 40 seconds. It's going to be a very slow-paced round for them, and unless they speed things up and find some kills, the clock's going to be their biggest enemy.
I think there's a bit of trepidation from Space Station because of how this previous attack went, right? They got 2 picked off very early when they attacked this bomb site back in round number 2. The roam from Bleed caught them flat-footed. You got a mute on the board, so you have to be concerned with where that information might come, but so far it hasn't really thwarted SSG's intel gathering game. They still got 8 drones left, so it's not like Space Station will be hurting for information.
I think what we've seen a lot of this game is SSG setting up pre-plays and trying to push Bleed into them to get information, to get picks, but Bleed, for what it feels like the very first time in this series, decide that they've wasted enough of the clock and they're going to fall back 5 on site.
Interesting. Base and bomb side,
I like this.
Doesn't have all that much base, like good playable positions once the soft floor gets destroyed, which SSG, they do have some self-destruction, secondary shotgun, soft boots as well, but no structure box. It's going to take a little bit of time and set up. The wall gets up and up, that's going to apply so much pressure towards the bomb site itself, but there is that mirror window locking down the breach.
Hoven had full information on that push from Hot and Cold, shutting him down at the bottom of yellow. Now J90 will survey that same spot before deciding that he needs to be elsewhere. He's got access to the diffuser, by the way, so with 20 seconds left, he's got to get that plant down at some point.
There's no way that this works here for Space Station. They would have to go insane. Already one kill Ashen. If he gets this one, it might be possible. J90 to support. He's got diffuser in hand. Faults does not. And they all fall, it seems, for Bleed. Turnster against 3 players. SSG, no time. J90 must stick for 7 seconds. Turnster in a 1v3, but Forrest with the pistol is the undoing of Bleed.
Let's go!
Once again, how does he keep stopping Bleed in their tracks?
2 rounds back-to-back, clutches for Space Station Gaming. Their momentum has shifted now. Started on Bleed's side, the spawn peaks early aggression, now completely shut down. They made that decision. Let's just fall back, let's play the bomb side, and they get punished for it.
I fear this match may kill James, to be honest. I worry for
Can you blame me, man?
I can't blame you at all. That was an exhilarating end. I'm just saying. We need you for the remainder of the event.
Oh, I'm only here for one more day. I may as well give it my all.
Oh.
But the
you hear that? I didn't know he was throwing a pity party.
Oh.
Did you get your invitation?
You're not invited.
So sorry, Dev.
No, I mean, this was just a Herculean effort from Space Station as they double pushed yellow and then had Forrest push down Spiral to hold that hallway. After that first pick came in from Turnsta, I feared the worst for that round for Space Station, right? It looked like Turnsta was going to be able to win the engagement on the hall as well, which would then set up about 2 seconds for him to get towards where the diffuser was being planted. Now, I don't think he would have been able to make it in time, but you have those 1.5 seconds of vulnerability when you pull off of the case, where things could go so badly. I was going to say, it's very quick by Hot and Cold.
Well, the thing is, 20 seconds to go, 4v5 to SSG. There's no world in which they should win that.
Right.
Especially walking into a goo mine for J90. And then, there's no way that Bleed should win that 1v3, and yet Turd made it look possible.
That's a good way to put it. It was a fast entry from Hot and Cold. Downstairs is very far off the bomb site above, but he finds a way in, finds a small gap, and might find a free kill as well, because Bleed, besides those default cameras, got no intel to work with. Trade.
Reaps gets one before being answered right back. I didn't hear a logic bomb go off, so I'd imagine that the Dokkaebi of Ashen dies with full utility in pocket. Reaps being down is just because of him as the player, but as a Jaeger, he's likely put down that observation blocker, and I'd have to imagine probably also the ADSs. So in terms of utility work, Dokkaebi being lost is a much bigger blow.
It is definitely a Bleed favorable trade.
It's also the EMPs, by the way.
Oh, that's a good point. Second EMPs, yeah.
Sorry, you were color casting.
He's seeing all.
Well, after you just did the play-by-play, what the hell am I doing?
I'll take that trade.
You know,
the funny part is I pointed to him, he started to do it, I pointed to him, and I was like, yeah, man.
I just love you explaining to a 2-time world champion what EMPs are.
Do you know that EMPs, were pocket EMPs even in the game when you played?
At the very tail end, yeah. But barely. Yeah, Jesse also said that, Parker, when did you analyze this game?
Oh, here we go.
Jesse dresses like bring your kid to work day, so I'm not really too worried about what Jesse has to say. This final round, there's a minute remaining. Space Station have been tripped up by some of the utility, but they have been able to cut their way through it. After losing Ashen, SSG have clobbered this Bleed defense. Hoven and Turd, the last 2 remaining. SSG on attack on Consulate. Situated quite well to finish things off with a 4-2. Oh, missed opportunity on to Turdster, who re-engage on J90. That's an anticipatory.
Hang on a sec.
Oh, wait a moment! How does he get there? Hoven in the corner, managing to take down that diffuse plant, but he's finished off for it. And now it'll be Forrest to hop back onto the case. Turdster shut down, Hot and Cold with the final kill. 4-2 first half for Space Station.
This is where I get a little bit worried for Bleed. You know, they start defense, which should be a good position. They get the first 2 rounds, and that's the end of the half of them, basically. Yeah. They lost 4 in a row. You know, they're on facing down. Like, if they lose... if they lose... if they lose...
I want his vocal dexterity. Like, I want... We can't...
so quiet?
Parker, can I just say... I'm glad that Ashen's good at video games, because otherwise he might be coming for our jobs.
Oh. You would be a shout.
There's more to it than just shouting, James. I will say this. They are down 2-4 right now, but Bleed are not looking any worse.
No,
they still look happy. They still look mentally in it. They're firing right back. In terms of, maybe not in the server, but they're certainly doing it with wordplay.
Well, they're going to need to, because they, as you said, Nick, they've just lost 4 rounds in a row. The momentum is squarely in SSG's favor.
Yeah.
Does anyone that I'm surprised the lack of fire we're seeing on Bleed's side? It is Reaps. Yes, 6 and 6. He is the top fragger on his team, but he's also the top dyer on his team. And you don't want to see one and dones from Reaps. You want to see big impact plays.
Yeah.
An early round pick where you take out the Dokumi's utility and you die, like, that doesn't really mean much. SSG are very good at adapting mid-round. You need more.
The thing is, when Parker and I cast Bleed and Consulate last time, against CAG, for example, it was Reaps that was popping off, finding double. I think he got like a 3K into a 4K back-to-back rounds on the bug, starting top floor, ripping the 4 apart, roam clearing, breaking the side apart, and then killing the side players as well. So if anything, it is Reaps on attack now that can get things going.
There's only one player on the entire basement floor. Of course,
this is just Spacestation playing Consulate. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, okay. Well, yes, there's a lot of.
Do you remember how they used to play
potential.
Clubhouse?
Yeah. SSG Rome. Come on, man.
No, they popularized the entire
Mute
Rome.
Nazi combo here we've got, guys.
Oh, are you an analyst now?
Yeah,
I'll let you take care of this round then, Space Station expert.
Hold on a second. I just said I was. This is the ship of Theseus, right? It's not the same space station. It's not your father's
Fault
space
is
station.
the same.
It's not your father's space station. Let's put it that way. Different team, different look. No Lycan timeouts to be had.
Oh, Turdster, nice entry on the ace. Ashen has been a very vocal player. He's a big one to take down early. He's also been the top fragger in this game thus far. Jano no low HP. Yeah, this is looking really grim for SSG. Reaps has found a big kill. So much of this roam game has subsided. Jano shut down. This could well be a convincing start to the second half for Bleed.
Oh yeah, this is the bleeding attack that we know and love and seen before. The call is gonna actually strike force. He's gonna be hurt out. He stopped it, actually.
I think he was hacking the cameras.
Oh,
and
you're right.
As a result, SSG have perfectly timed this re-aggression. 2v5 swiftly becomes a 2 versus 3.
I've said time and time again, the 5v3 is the most dangerous lead to have. I mean, I guess a 5v2 is a little bit different, but... How do Bleed move next? What do they have? 3 hard breachers. Well, I mean, if you got some hard walls to get through, they're going to get the job done. They got some soft destruction, and they've got smokes as well. I will say, I like the tools that Bleed has. Even if they are 3 hard breachers, hold on a moment here. They're running into all of SSG's guns. Forrest and Fultz, the same position, finding themselves being spotted out. Mentalist all alone will attempt a desperate opportunity before hopping off.
Oh no.
Catching Forrest! Not good enough for Fultz. 5 in a row from Space Station.
And that is such a determining round as well. A 5v2 that goes astray for Bleed. Yeah, they have been so diligent. They have been so persistent. And they have never let the mental get ahead of them. But now, I think that's got to be the most crushing blow that they have felt so far. They will finally take their tactical pause.
Yeah, and I think this is the right time to do it. Yeah, they're a little bit behind, or quite a bit behind in a 2-5, but after these rounds, going over to have 3 rounds in a row, losing from advantageous positions, you gotta talk about the mental, because now I can understand that players are feeling a little bit out of it, a little bit frustrated at least.
Just get ready, yeah? Go to tradable positions. Or disengage, okay?
Heads up.
Damn.
this is Reaps, the most feared player in APAC, and he's got his head in his hands.
Fucking go! Come on!
But look at this, Asfi, right? Bring up the vibes. Goes to Reaps first with the fist bump. Mentalist looking down as the leader. To his left, everybody's looking fine. Looks to his right, says Reaps, head up, buddy. This game ain't over yet. And that's the kind of mentality and leadership that you need in a team when you're down 2-5. Let's say Bleed loses the next 2 rounds, you go down 2-7. They look great doing it, at least. Head in the right place, fighting every single round. And yes, losing a 2v5 round, it sucks. But they did it last round, they can do it again.
I love the courtesy, moving the mic away so he doesn't destroy his teammates' ears.
I think Hardy Coben, can you please stop?
My old man ears can't handle this.
Oh, I smell the Clash back in like round number 3, but like you can play Clash once or twice.
Yeah. I think this is a really scary moment for Bleed.
Yeah.
To be honest, that round has probably determined the outcome of this match. It is not done yet, but we may well look back in a few rounds and say that 2v5, that was the moment.
At least to this half, because before that, it was 2 back-to-back clutches also for SSG, so it's the last 3 rounds that have built up this kind of frustration point. And now, you go with spawn peaks, that's annoying, right? They bring out the Clash, so once they see this, like, oh, this is so annoying to deal with, right? And just like, mentally, you're getting locked out of these rounds if you're a tank and Consulate as we are. You're down in numbers. You know, they're not really getting convincing opening kills besides the previous attacking round. And up against the Clash or the top 4 defense, there's no easy kills to get early.
And I don't think I've ever seen Reaps tilted in his career. If he can come back from this, then yeah, sure, Bleed might be able to find 3 in a row, might be able to contest on map 3 here. But if Reaps goes silent, if his impact cannot be felt, then Bleed, I don't think they'll have much.
Bit of a dance here with Ash and Jane, I know, but
oh
he
my,
finds
no,
the opening.
No, Bleed, not like this! It does amaze me how often we see botch nitro cells, by the way. And I mean, I'm not gonna pull the ninja, like, how do you miss kicks as a kicker? Just get better at your job kind of deal. But it does genuinely perplex me how poorly a lot of these teams have those nitro cells lined up.
Just be better. That's what Parker's saying.
That's not what I'm saying.
It sounds like...
I mean, it's certainly advice that if it were followed, then Bleed could make a comeback. If not, I think SSG may have found themselves an adequate advantage. The Clash is the perfect pick here. Reed starts to move on forward. He does have a nade. If he's able to make this land on the player, on the shield, or onto the Clash, maybe even both, it's possible.
I would argue this is the round. Reaps dies to this altercation. I think that's curtains for Bleed here and Space Station move to match point. That's how pivotal this particular fight is going to be, because not only do you keep Forest up, but you also allow Houghton to exist in that powerful position.
This is tough. A breach to wall's not gonna help you. You gotta deal with the Clash, gotta deal with the shield, otherwise you're not getting in.
Oh, here comes the nade. And that nade almost lands, but a shot does secure the kill onto Hot and Cold. Numbers are once again even, but that Clash persists, and Bleed's push has been completely telegraphed.
I love that they didn't want to fight it, though. I mean, they let them exist for as long as they did, got the hard breach off, but now it's SSG winning these engagements. Aspi will need to clutch out.
He's not dead!
And keep that crime in the family, apparently. Match point, Space Station. 6 rounds in a row. You called it a fairy tale. A popular fairy tale, Cinderella, and what happens? That clock strikes midnight, and they turn back into pumpkins. Is it about to be the clock striking midnight against Bleed? The Space Station now sitting on match point.
I think so, James. I mean,
he's so upset.
I know. He's
Look
sad.
at him, he's pouting.
I know.
He's pouting. We needed James.
I'm getting bullied right now.
You know how they do the. Oh, we're gonna call in an expert at halftime. We need like a sad James Cam.
No, we really don't. This moment isn't about me either, Parker. It has been 2 years since Space Station were on the main stage. It has taken so much time, so much dedication. A complete roster revamp, picking up the core of the best roster from North America at Six Invitational, and a runners-up from a major last year. The former Astralis pieces picked back together to build this super team. And if this is the moment that they can prove that Bleed are indeed not the NA killers, then this is all for them.
The last one is really play util, making things hard, right? The pose, the echo, the Valkyrie. They're gonna work for it. But Bleed, they're still fighting. We know it because they're playing the IQ. They're gonna say, you know what? We see the intel, we'll play the counter, we'll pay respect to the setup and try and pick it apart.
Well, I can only imagine the weight that's on the shoulders of both of these teams. You know, as you just underscored, it's a lot of history with this organization. It's a completely different roster, absent faults, of course. But you play for the team, you know what it stands for. You play for Manchester United, you know what that club stands for. You play for the New York Yankees, you know what that club stands for as well. To play on stage in your own region, but that drought is humongous. And on the other side of the table, you've got Bleed, who themselves are now wearing the mantle of an entire region as well. And it's been an unbelievable run for Bleed. If this is the end, I think they have a lot to be proud of.
Absolutely.
But obviously, no team wants to go out this way.
No. Bleed do not think their story is done yet, that's for sure. But these last 2 rounds have been grim, and Reaps has gone down as well. Ashen has had their number this match, through and through.
He was all alone. He just pushed down Yellow Skylight, and again, Tursta also alone, falling apart here for Bleed.
This is not the ending that anybody wants to a matchup, but Spacestation are taking advantage of them. What could have been prolonged is simply almost over. Mentalist with 1 kill, 2. There's still hope. Cross your fingers, cross your toes. 3 players from Spacestation just need to sit back and wait.
If there's anyone to do it from Bleed, it is Mentalist. He is one of the OGest of OGs from this region.
He's got no health though, James. He needs help. Nobody's there with him. No intel. 25 health to go. 50 seconds.
And for SSG, the curtains may close on Bleed, but Spacestation are sent into orbits for the first time in 2 years. This organization, former world champions, returns to the main stage.
Yeah, and the NA killers, well, not this time. They get shut down. And SSG, they don't suffer the curse of that 1-2 loss to not go to the main stage.
It really was an electric 3 maps, but Bleed's stamina just wasn't there. Turns out hitting the gym every day primes you for the fight of your life. The job is far from over with Spacestation though, because while Bleed go home, SSG now have a chance to make an even deeper run. Time and time again, it seems like not just NA fans, but globally, people have decided that Spacestation were ready to implode, but they have not. They continue to beat expectations, and that's a frightening thing when you go on stage with a whole region and a hometown crowd behind you.
So many people had written off this roster, and so many people were telling me, is NA's hope really Spacestation? Because if it is, I don't know if NA stand a chance, but I tell you what, they lost their first 2 opening games.
Yeah.
I've been there for a lot of them. I've casted a lot of SSG this major, and they took down every single match in a BO3 to get back to the main stage for the first time in 2 years. This all-American roster will play on stage in their home country. What a fantastic moment for them. And of course, we have an interview with them on the desk.
Thanks so much to our TriCasters there. Right now, we are with Mentalist from Bleed. You all should be so proud. It has just been so fun to watch you all. What is going to be the biggest takeaway from this experience for you?
For these boys, it's all about experience, you know? They're all 18, 19 years old. This is their first international event. The fact that we went this far and defeated the teams that we did is really, really impressive.
I'm sure they're all like little brothers to you.
Yes.
So how do you feel about that? Like y'all getting this far?
Yeah, I'm like, me and my coach Bruce, we're like the team dad. And like, honestly, like every day is about like getting the confidence up, about, you know, his individual skill, the map pool, all that stuff. So yeah, it feels... You know, I used to be the one depending on others when I was on other teams a few years ago, but now getting dependent on, I can say that it's a very fulfilling feeling, especially when we have achieved like what we did. But,
Yeah.
That
Well,
warmed my heart.
It was an amazing major for you guys. Obviously, it's ended a little bit before maybe you wanted to, but still, you got some really good wins in throughout this tournament. You have got an extremely long path behind you. You've been playing Siege for a very long time on some great teams throughout history. What do you think this team that you're on right now with Bleed, what do you think they have that maybe sets them apart from other squads that you've been on in the past?
They have that. I think the biggest highlight for the boys is the passion for the game. I think that passion is unmatched. They're always playing together, always having fun together, and they gel really well. Even when they're not playing Siege, they're playing other games together. I think that's something that's like really rare to see in the pro scene these days. And of course, they're really young. They have a long future ahead of them, and they have incredible individual skill. All we have to do, like this year, we try to like create a team structure for them to shine the individual skill. And I think we're going to keep working on that and see what we can cook up by invite.
Yeah, well, I wanted to touch on that too. Obviously, you have qualified for the 6th Invitational because you played quite well here at the event. You didn't know if you would coming into Atlanta. It was kind of up in the air. You had to play well. You made that. You qualified. What's the biggest thing that you really want to focus on going forward to invite?
Definitely the fundamentals. I believe the boys, because of like not the lack of fundamentals, but rather the confidence in the fundamentals. Sometimes going to match day, you know, their first international event and all that stuff, they are very nervous. Some things are missed. So we're just going to make sure like we build the foundations well, and everything above that, we can do VOD reviews, all that stuff to help them improve slowly and slowly.
Nice.
Last question. The fans have been absolutely loving your journey. Is there anything that you want to say to them?
Thank you so much for supporting us and Asia Pacific as a region. I just want to say, like, the only reason why we could go this far, the only reason why we could fight this hard is because of the support that you guys are giving us and, of course, of Team Fish. And I think that's like really amazing. And going forward, I just want to say we will definitely be putting up even more showings in international events. And hopefully next time I'll bring the boys up on the main stage.
Amazing.
Mentalist, thank you so much for that fantastic interview. Making me laugh and cry like in the same minute. But again, thank you so much for that interview. But man, the Cinderella story, the fairy tale run has come to an end. Bleed is heading home, eliminated from the Atlanta Major. But guess what? SSG going main stage, and very excited about this. We are with Ashen from SSG. You're going to the main stage. I'm trying to bring on my Ashen, like just screaming at you right now. Was it good? Louder?
No, louder.
No. I'll leave it to Ashen. I'll leave it to Ashen to bring the energy. But I just feel like you should be so proud of yourself. This is your first international tournament. It's just been such an amazing showing. Talk to me about what's been the best part of this so far.
Yeah, I especially think, starting 04 NAL and then, going through the LCQ, the gauntlet, we went through the gauntlet there, and then here we started 02. And then, we ran the gauntlet again. It's just such a good, relieving feeling, especially now because, we know that, we can be on that top stage. And, how we think about it is no matter win or lose, as long as we play how we want to play, our side of Siege, even if we lose, we don't care because, that's our identity. And, that's what it's about at the end of the day, just how we want to play. So,
the crank.
Yeah, it's just the crank.
It's the crank.
It's the crank.
I love that. So question for you, more or less about the team, just yourself. I mean, how does it feel to be here? Like, knowing where you came from, the grind and effort that you put in, what does this feel for you personally?
This feels great.
So give me an in-depth. I don't want something boring. Give me something juicy.
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously everyone says they want to, dream about this, make the stage, all that type of stuff. But, I mean, I just love being around these teammates, to be real. We've had, rough patches with me and stuff like that. I've had to learn a lot. But, it's just, I just have to be open to learning, because these guys have so much experience, stuff like that, I'm just like a sponge, you know what I mean? I'm just like a sponge. And, just for me...
I mean, it's important to be a player of your caliber, brand new, but be able to be taught and learn, but also allow you to thrive in the position that you are. And you have been doing that. I mean, props to you, especially for me. I love seeing new players come in and really show their identity and show why they're here. Another question for you is, what do you feel that you bring for these guys outside of just your vibes?
I think I'm a very flexible player. I think in T3, I was always kind of... I IGL'd in T3, stuff like that, and I was usually directing the push, and, I always learned that I can play a lot of, flexible operators, so just kind of, adapting to the play style and just, being able to pick up whatever op we need. I think I do a pretty good job at that. Obviously, You know, you said not the energy, but you know that's a real big one
For
too.
sure. No, it's definitely a big one.
I make everyone know that I'm known in the building. They know that
I hear
really,
you when I'm.
we were describing you as a quiet player.
Yeah,
we're like
true.
a little.
We thought you more
timid at times.
We thought you used your inside voice quite a bit. So I mean.
There is something I do want to ask you. Do you have a message for the other teams here? I feel like sometimes SSG does get slept on a little bit.
You know, we started 0-2. You know, everyone was sleeping on us. You know, everyone just builds a narrative around us, a rep around us. You know, anyone can be any team in this, and you know. Look at the Astralis one at Invite. You know what I mean? They were in lower bracket, one fucking game from one game from an elimination. You know, they came back, ran the gauntlet, you know, made it to the main stage. So I mean, you know, anyone can be anyone these type of days. Don't underestimate us. You'll know who you're playing whenever you play me. So that's all you gotta know.
I love that.
And anything that you want to say to the fans at home?
Shout out, you know, everyone at my school watching. You know, I missed 3 weeks of school for this. Been doing my homework.
Good.
Doing my homework.
Glad to hear that.
So, yeah, shout out to my team, you know, just me being a sponge. You know, I appreciate all the stuff that I've had to learn, you know. Shout out to, you know, just everyone around me at this major, just, you know, making me feel welcome, stuff like that. All the players, and even at the hotel, everyone's just so welcoming, you know, the desk, all that. So.
What about the skins?
Skins, I mean, I didn't have Glacier, you know. You can ask Call. I'll be changing my skin a little bit, right?
Your SSG skin.
Yeah. Oh, SSG skin. Yeah. Shout out, Spacestation.
You
know.
always do that. Anyway, sorry.
Also,
yes.
shop.spacestation.com, code Ashen, 12% off. You know, thank you.
And he knows the percentage off.
Yeah,
he's been media trained, apparently.
Definitely, 100%. See, that's what we love, though, for newer players being media trained. I think it is important. And again, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yes, very well spoken. Wonderful interview. You go enjoy that victory. Thank you so much.
We'll be getting canes. We've had canes 3 days in a row.
So
that's why we
eating
won.
very healthy?
Yeah, eating very healthy.
Is that the key? Okay.
Healthy is an interesting choice of words.
That's your
unless
secret.
You're just saying,
Yeah,
unless you put your
not
order,
healthy.
you're just saying just the slaw.
Not healthy at all.
No, extra toast, no slaw.
Ashton? Yes. Okay. So, Ashton, thank you so much for that amazing interview. We've completely gone off the rails. My producer's like, wrap it up, wrap it up. We're talking about canes. We're talking about coleslaw. Let's talk about this match, though. How are we feeling about SSG?
I mean,
do you have confidence in them?
Yeah, I mean, I was a little worried in the beginning of this game because, as Jesse pointed out, that when they brought Blitz, it was typically because they were struggling a little bit, and we saw Blitz literally right off the bat, but it was being utilized perfectly. They were playing with it well, and then they started to get that comeback rolling. So, I mean, towards the middle, even earlier in the round, SSG was really showing a lot of tenacity and force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, undoubtedly. We saw SSG 2 rounds, they fell. The very beginning, it kind of looked like, oh, Bleed might be taking this game. You know, 2 defenses right away for Consulate, and then it was round after round after round after round, and you could hear it. I think there was one round where I heard Ashby try to yell back, try to get that energy back, which is what you have to do, but it felt lost in this room. You know, Spacestation Gaming, they won the mental game, they won the energy game, and they won the game in the server. Obviously, their play was fantastic. The way they handled a lot of those setups with, you know, coming through onto Chonka and a lot of cool stuff that we saw coming utilized by Bleed. Always, it was countered, it was shut down. Spacestation played great.
Really quickly, I do want to talk about Bleed a little bit. What an amazing interview from Mentalist. I mean, it was emotional, but also positive, looking forward. Let's just give a final word for Bleed. I just feel like they deserve it.
No, they 100% do.
Yeah.
I mean, they came here. They fought to the very end. Sure, it might not have been that 7-8 loss, but they still gave it their best effort. And that's the one thing that you were talking about, bringing those intricacies in terms of those little things that they were adding, you know, to Chonka, bringing in just tons of stuff that you can see Siege. And that's the beautiful thing about Siege is seeing all the different ops made into strats, whatever, however that gets worked in. And that's what I can always appreciate about newer teams bringing that, and Bleed specifically. And they just put up a hell of a fight.
Yeah, this is the first time we've seen Bleed on the international stage ever. And what they did is they showed they're the best team in APAC. Right?
Yeah.
Out of all the former APAC regions that have come together, Japan, Korea, Southeast Asia, they look the most dominant. They got the farthest. I think they should leave with their heads held high and be very proud of what they've done here.
All right, they're just one of the amazing stories that we've been tracking here, but I want to take a look at the Phase 3 bracket. Let's break it down A to Z. Laxi, why don't you go first?
All right, well, right off the gate, the Phase Space Station, that is going to be an interesting one. I feel a little bad for Space Station to immediately come off this, but they do get a little time off, but to immediately going head-to-head with Phase, that's going to be a hard one.
Yeah, and the lower half of that bracket, G2 BDS, an all-European quarterfinal to start us off on the very first day of playoffs. And then W7M GK, that's a scary one because GK have looked very, very good throughout the tournament so far. But W7M, for many people, are the tournament favorites. And as you said, that's a bit of a rematch coming through. We did see that in Swiss.
Well, we're going to be off for a couple days, which is nice. We're not tired or anything.
No, I could go for another 12 hours.
Hey, gladly. With the state the games have been, honestly.
Oh, I mean, that's what keeps it going, though, is how intense these games have been. It just makes you want more and more. So that time off for me, I just want to jump back into it.
Yeah, also, you know, we've talked about this a bit, but many teams qualified for SI, and it's just been such a fun ride to watch. So let's take a break down there.
So the key thing you need to note here is it really comes down to who wins those quarterfinal games, right? If BDS win their quarterfinal game, they're in. If Los win their quarterfinal game, they're in. If they both win, Sandbox is out. If neither of them win, then it will be Sandbox and BDS as they are currently the teams holding the spots. Los need to win their match in order to make it. That's why they're straight 50-50. Sandbox and BDS, even if they do lose their quarterfinal, there is still hope, but it depends on the rest of the game.
So how I'm looking at this, the most pressure is on both Sandbox and Los, because Los needs to get that win, and Sandbox needs both teams at least, or at least one of them not to make it.
Exactly.
All right, well, y'all, it's a wrap on phase 2. Man, it goes by so quickly. Obviously, big thank you to my analysts. Y'all rock. Big thank you to all of you behind the scenes. You're amazing, working so hard. And a big thank you to all of you at home. And just a reminder, on Friday, we will be at the Gas South Arena. That's right, we're going to the big arena, everybody. And tickets are still available. So just go to our social media for more details. And don't go anywhere. We're going to leave you with a little surprise. Take a watch.